You just become efficient.
Yeah. Those are required.
Yeah, make sure it is.
Now we have a steady hand and a sharp eye.
We ready? Good evening, all. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome. Please rise and join us in the pledge.
No, I didn't know that.
Tight up here. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
welcome everyone in the audience here and those viewing us at home. First, I just apologize for the late start, but we had some business to attend to during executive session. And as a result of the delay, I'm going to move down to item number 7, meet with NORCAM for the annual report. I'll call up Rob Carbone from NORCAM. And Rob, I just ask you to just to give us a general overview of your report. We've had it in, well in advance of tonight, and we appreciate that. And welcome.
And thank you for having us. All right. In general, we set some goals from last year, which is to get more program and obviously have to more community involvement, as well as work on some of our technical issues. We feel like we did a pretty good job addressing all that. We've also been trying to move forward to a tapeless environment where we're no longer using tapes and DVDs. Everything's all file-based. We've just tried to increase more and more of our presence within the community, both online and in print and whatnot. So, sort of a really brief overview. We've had a steady increase in programming, and actually, for the first time since we started, we have more local programming. In other words, stuff based out of North Reading and about North Reading than stuff we've gotten from outside sources. We've doubled that and actually doubled the amount of hours of local programming. Membership-wise, we've basically kept about the same amount of membership, and we have about a 2-to-1 ratio between youth members and adult members. We encourage everyone to get involved, and we've kept our membership rates low. And actually, this past year, we've put in a policy where your volunteer hours they offset the cost to your renewal of your membership. So if you volunteer and you're constantly volunteering, why would I charge you membership? You're actually doing us a favor. And you either give someone a t-shirt for being a good volunteer or give them a free membership. It's kind of nice to get the free membership. So if we were kind of to equate a value to what we do in that regard, if people in town were to go to, say, a rental agency or a place that would charge them for use of equipment, you're looking at probably about $112,000 a year we save folks. And if they were looking for a place to edit, like an edit bay or anything, usually that's about $250 a day to rent an edit facility. We probably save people about $65,250. So that's kind of nice. There is a value to what we do. So likewise, we've done a lot of outreach to the various organizations, whether they're municipal, like branches of the municipal government, or schools, or say like the senior center, or even like Mystic Valley Elder Services. They've used our bulletin board, our airtime to get their message out, and yeah. Regarding on-air issues, we did a lot, especially if you look in the report, you see March was a very, very, very busy month for us, and April as well. It's tough, as always, there's always a challenge of working with both providers, trying to get them to meet and address sort of common issues. This year we also did a mailing to sort of survey the whole town. We got less than 1% of them back, which isn't ideal, but gave us kind of an idea of what was going on. The main complaint, actually, believe it or not, was not audio or anything, it was the cost. People just don't want to pay that much for cable anymore. So out of those surveys, about 2/3 were actually positive. You guys are doing a great job, keep it up. So that's about it. Any questions at all? Or?
I also want to talk about the audit that was done. You had your audit that, I guess, the board had set new guidelines in terms of when we expected an audit. We expected an audit every 3 years. The audit was done. I forget the date. You help me with the date?
2011 was when we did the audit for that. Our current 2012 finances are actually at the accountant presently, so we should hopefully have that soon enough, so we'll present that to Town Hall. We did actually bring you guys a copy of the budget.
And your audit came back with the highest possible vote of confidence from the auditor.
Oh,
my
good,
understanding.
good,
You?
you know.
Okay.
We try, you know, we, there's not, I guess, a lot. We don't make a lot, we don't spend a lot, we just,
But it's a good check.
Live within our means,
Good
you know?
checks and balances, though, to make sure.
Yeah.
that it protects you, too, so I think it's worthwhile.
right, absolutely. It is, it's definitely worthy, and, you know, it's, one good thing is we've always kept ourselves in the black, we're never really in the red, so, like I said, we just work within our means. Yep.
Mr. Messere?
Rob, your calendar year budget that you presented, or we received, I think, in the December timeframe.
Yep.
You had a budget total of 252 million.
250,000.
I'm sorry,
Cut off some of those zeros.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
252,978.
Yep.
What, at the end of fiscal, not, the end of calendar 2000, you're on a calendar year basis.
Correct,
Right? The end of 2012, what was your retained earnings, do you know?
We were pretty much right within the budget. I think we may have had like $1,000.
So in other words, you
So it's
spent,
$22.
Yeah, well, no, that's for this year. Yeah, $22, yeah. So, yeah, there's about,
so basically you're operating on the basis of spending all of your income in the,
right, the franchise fees that,
so for a large capital expense, how are you dealing with that?
well, if you remember when we were first founded and as part of the whole franchise agreement, there were 2 startup grants. You know, I believe it was $130,000 from each provider. And we put that in just a high yield savings, just to kind of build up a lot more capital. So when we have a major project, which, you know, we probably do foresee a few more coming down the road depending on how things go, you know, we have that money.
So you have basically $250,000 in.
Yeah, just about. Actually, a little bit more, probably around like 300.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, and some people go, "Oh, that's a lot of money," but really, when you're dealing with this stuff, it really isn't a lot of money. I mean, some of like the cable, like if we have a major project with the cable companies, I mean, that's easily a $20,000 to $40,000 expense, if not more. You know, if we have to replace, say, or upgrade our playback system, that'd be like $70,000. So it's good to have that money in place. It's good to any sort of surpluses we get, as small as they may be, just to save them and just kind of like a good rainy day fund.
As you're aware, the school project is moving along.
Correct.
And the DMARC, my understanding is the DMARC is in the old high school.
Correct.
So what's the plan going forward during this transition?
Well, that's a very good question. The plan as it stands on paper is to build a new facility, get all the raceway for all the cabling to go in, and run all the cabling in. And when it comes time to actually switch over to the new building before they tear down the old one, we might be off the air for half a day, and it's just a matter of just breaking down that rack of equipment, loading it in a truck, bringing it up the hill, moving it in, and reconnecting it, testing it, and then just having it go.
There's a cost associated with doing this. Who's picking
Correct.
that cost up?
I'm not too sure.
Well, then how is it going to happen?
I don't know. You know, there's verbiage in the agreements that actually say that since it's the cable company's equipment, yeah. So it might be the cable company, might be, no one's approached us with a monetary figure at all, so.
Any discussion on the building committee on that?
I know there was a subcommittee that's been involved, and they've met on a couple occasions. I believe you.
Right.
Rob, but in
Yeah.
terms of the cost
They haven't met
aspect,
in a
no.
while.
It was more, I guess, at that point when we met, it was at the summer we met, and that was just more the feasibility of the project.
Right.
You know, there's also, because of the nature of at least how the audio-visual portion of the INET is handled, we're actually in talks of maybe moving it over to the tavern, because we have space in our area to actually keep it. And that actually makes the most sense, so it's not, when there's an issue, we can immediately address it, versus having to go get clearance to go into the INET hub, meet the technicians there, go perform the repairs, sign back out, check back out with everyone. At least it's like, oh, nope, come here, fix it, adjust it, replace it, let's go, let's keep moving. So that's the other thing. And if that is the case, if we were to relocate it, I'm sure we'd probably wind up taking the burden and the expense of that, so.
Well, the school project's moving along, and At
Correct.
some point, you're gonna be impacted, and I think a plan needs to be put together, and funding source has to be determined,
Correct.
and the scope of the project, and the location, whether it's gonna be in Damon Tavern, or it's gonna be in the new high school or some other location.
Correct.
I think this is much too important to have, it just hanging up there waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, well, when I get a figure from either the cable providers or from the buildings, we can talk, but I don't have that information handy. No one's contacted me directly, so.
I'll work on getting you that information
Hmm?
forthwith. I'll work on getting.
All right,
that
thank you,
information
Sean, thank you, I
forthwith.
appreciate that, because I'm kind of in the dark myself. I've been kind of wondering what's going on with it, so.
Anything else for Rob?
Just in relation to the relationship with the schools,
Yep,
I haven't seen an awful lot of school programming.
actually, one of the middle schools just did a whole anti-bullying program. And it's actually really great. I mean, he did it all himself. He had a group of his peers. They put it all together about, bully preventing. We did the anti-drug task force last year.
What are we doing as far as coordinating these efforts with the school department, maybe working it into a curriculum?
Well, that's a very interesting question. The middle school, we actually had it as part of an after-school enrichment program. We had also planned on partnering with the Hood, and we were starting, to get that going, but there was no interest from the kids. I mean, they're little, so that's kind of tough with elementary school age kids. But the middle school after-school program was very successful. We probably had about 20 kids alone just learning cameras and editing, which is great. From the high school, we've tried to actually get an actual club or something going on over there. And right now we have a non-sanctioned club because there's no advisor from the school. So we're doing our part. We have the students come by every Tuesday evening and they work on their projects, and yeah. So there is a lot of actually school involvement. Some of our volunteers, we actually had a young man from the special ed program come through. He actually wound up covering a lot of things such as Veterans Day. He's worked on his own independent little projects. He and I also interviewed, the high school librarian at the time, the youth services librarian at the time over at the Flint, and then we talked about NORCAM as well. So we have actually had a lot of youth members come through, and they are pretty active. It's just, again, we're trying to work that interest and build that interest up in our program. And it's just tough, actually, whether there's no interest. You can cook a dinner for someone. If they're not hungry, they're not going to eat.
I understand, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you really are coordinating, or maybe the school department isn't as receptive as maybe they should be or could be.
No, they're pretty receptive, actually. Actually, that's one of their points of their agenda tonight, was actually discussing about becoming an organizational member with NORCAM. So we'll see how the school, how the school committee votes on that. But, I know speaking with the superintendent of schools, she'd like to come in and start doing a half-hour program, maybe once a month, discussing issues that affect the school and affect parents. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, a good example, we've been trying to get a club over at the high school, and there's no advisor. So we actually have to run it as a non-sanctioned high school club. It's not even an activity for the kids, but they're more than welcome to come by and use the facilities, and they do. There's a group of probably, I think, 6 or 8 kids, and they meet every other Tuesday night, and they either plan out a project to work on it, they shoot a project, or they edit a project, and they take it all into themselves with, minimal guidance and minimal supervision, and they do a good job. So I'm proud of our kids, actually. I think they do a great job.
Mr. Prisco.
Rob, I've seen on Craigslist that you do some hiring through Craigslist, and I was always curious why you would do that and not reach out more to try to hire more in-town people, since it's more of a community.
That's a good question, and I'll give you this to think about. Do you hire the person because they're local, or do you hire the person because they're the best candidate for the job? And that's really what I try to hire. I try to hire a talented, competent work staff that can handle issues in the field. And if they come from North Reading, great. But if they don't come from North Reading, I'm not going to shun someone because they're not from town. A lot of actually, Phil, who's actually covering the school committee, he lives right down the street. So he's actually from North Reading. He grew up in Methuen. Kate, who was our government access coordinator, she grew up in Haverhill. So, I mean, they might not be local to the town per se, but they're local to the area. I mean, Chris went through North Reading schools. He grew up here. So I do hire people in town, but what I'm really after is not just local people, but talented and competent staff people. So that's how we do it. Craigslist just casts a much wider net. You can actually reach a lot more people through it, and it actually has results. So
Well, I guess we just have different philosophies on it, because it's a local access channel, and I think it would be better if we had more of a focus to try to look for people to work in there directly from North Reading first and foremost, and if you can't find the best qualified candidate, then of course you can expand your search, but we could just agree to disagree on this one.
yeah, no,
I just
that's
wanted to
that's
know
probably
what
the
thought was.
safest thing, because you got to hire talent and competency over locality, in my opinion. So
Okay.
Anything else? Rob, before you leave,
Sure.
first, thank you for
Of course, thank you for having me.
For tonight, and also for filming the informational session last Thursday.
Sure, we'll be there next
do-
week.
Do we actually have a rebroadcast schedule? Are you working on
No,
that?
not yet. We actually, it is up on YouTube right now. So anyone that can go onto the NORCAM one, that's our YouTube channel, you can watch it. But literally, it just got transferred into our playback system like probably 2 hours ago, because it took a long time to render it.
When do you think you'll have a rebroadcast schedule for that?
Oh, well, at least definitely by Friday. I mean, I might actually sneak in a few more replays prior to that, and we'll post it up on Facebook. So, and then once we actually do the formal schedule, because I do the schedule every Friday for the following week.
if you could-
Once that comes out, I'll make sure you get a copy of it. I'll let
Please.
you know of any. Yeah, of course, of course. You know, any of you guys can reach me at any time. I mean, my door's open. The the
You
email
respond.
box is open. Yeah, and I'll just respond as quick as I can.
Just in relation to the secondary school building committee, the informational meetings, obviously time is of the essence in relation to the special town meeting and special election to get as much information out there as possible.
Right.
So if we can prioritize it and get these.
Oh no,
get
it's a
get
priority,
get it-
but
Get it up and running and rerun so that as many people as possible can be exposed to them. That would be helpful in.
of course,
Getting the information out.
Yeah.
Because it's a
that's what we strive for.
key component, so.
Yeah. But again, I mean, when you literally just have it done 2 hours ago, I can't give you a solid answer. Sorry. Give me a couple days, you'll have it.
I'm not too knowledgeable about YouTube. Is there how would someone access it? If someone has access from YouTube?
www.youtube.com, and then if you go into search, just type in the NORCAM, NORCAM, and then the number 1, and that'll bring you up to, at least when it brings up the search, that top one will be our YouTube channel. Just click on that and you'll see it. All the meetings, by the way, from as long as we've had them on VHS cassette and as long as they've survived being on VHS cassette, are up there. We have town meetings, graduations. I mean, I think our oldest graduation goes back to the 1992 maybe, which is actually kind of funny.
Don't go back to Mr. O'Leary's?
No, that's VHS, not film.
All right. Oh, thank you again.
Yeah, of course. No,
Appreciate
thank you guys. And, it's been great serving you guys. So, all right.
All right.
Yep,
Have
have
a
a
good
great
night.
one. Thank you.
All right, move to our FY 2014 budget hearings. The first up, Treasurer Collector. Thank you.
Page 74, I think, on the electronic version.
Yes.
69.
Yes.
Hey, question, Mr. Delaney.
Mr. Prisco?
Are we going to go through the narrative first and then the finances, or are we going to do the financial spreadsheets first and then the
Mr.
narrative?
Valiakonis, what did you had respect your
I've asked each
department?
department to kind of go through and give a summary of their activities in the narrative. So it asks that we proceed with giving them an opportunity to introduce their budget in terms, not necessarily speaking to the numbers, and then we'll get into the numbers at that point.
Very good.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary Ann McKay, the Treasurer Collector. My office collects all the real estate, personal property, water, trash. We handle the tax title accounts. We handle all the billing for motor vehicle too. We collect all the billing. We handle the online systems. We do the professional services for tax title. In my budget statement, my objectives is what I just said, and my accomplishments for last year is that I was very aggressive in collecting the fees that we have in our billing part of it. Our tax title, last year we collected $375,000. This year, so far, up to date, we've already collected $373,000. So that's a big part of my budget, is my professional fees, professional services, excuse me. So that's what I have. Questions?
We'll start at the end, Mr. Prisco.
Could you go back to your budget statement, though, where you talk about the level funding? It states that to level fund, I would have to cut the following accounts, and then maybe you could talk a little bit about those accounts.
Yes, because there is a couple of, that's in my collectors, hold on, sorry. In my collectors portion, as of July 1st of this year, our bank that we do all our deposits with, and we have the majority of our accounts with, is going to start charging us for the deposit slips and the bank bags.
Okay.
So part of my level funded, I would have to cut back on those areas that I did put down in my budget to offset the cost for that. And also with the TAC
Yes.
committee, that's a new committee, that the Taxation Aid Committee, with trying to get the flyers and everything like that, I put $1,800 in my budget to offset the cost of that, so that's part of it too. So for me to have a level funded budget, I would have to take it out of the items that I have in my budget here, which is my tax, part of it is my tax title, I'm sorry, my tax
okay.
title, and then there was travel.
Yep.
There was postage, there
Right.
was.
Some repairs and maintenance, professional services.
Professional services.
Training and education.
Training, right,
No, that's-
and the training part of it, I'm certified, so 3 out of the 5 years I have to go to school to keep my certification up. So I did take a little bit out of my education, but.
Right. No, and I support that we should not level fund you. I think it would be very difficult for you to operate. Thank you. I just want to understand.
Mr. Messeri?
Congratulate you on putting all the effort into the tax title collections.
Thank you.
What's outstanding?
Outstanding as of right now, I have how much we actually collected. Outstanding off the top of my head, I want to say is, I think 700,000, but that's a ballpark. I don't have the figures right in front of me. But a big portion of that is that property over on Concord Street. That's almost $200,000.
That's the
Piscataqua.
21E issue
Yes.
property.
Yeah, and so that's a big portion of the tax title.
And what are you seeing, we've gone through this crazy downturn and we've had all these issues. Do you see a reduction in unpaid taxes? What's the trend?
Actually, we're in the process right now of doing our advertising for 2012. And when I looked at the figures from 2011, when we advertised, we did 25 parcels. And this year, we're only advertising 19 parcels. So the trend is going down. And we did collect, as of this time last year, there was 641 parcels that were outstanding. As of this time now, in 2013, it's 539. So people are paying their taxes and keeping them current. I don't know if with people refinancing, if a lot of people are putting it in with their mortgage, so we're getting a lot of payments from the mortgage company rather than individuals paying.
And if people are falling behind with their mortgage company, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that mortgage companies actually stepping up earlier and paying anyway and then chasing them?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the delinquencies, they're really far behind. If they owe us, they've really fallen behind.
Yes.
They're close to
Yes.
foreclosure probably on the other end, right?
Correct, yeah,
Yeah.
or close to it, yeah.
Mr. Prisco?
Just for really more for the folks listening at home, I just want to make a statement, and you tell me if it's wrong. But now when you go online to the town website and you pay your bills, you pay an ACH fee.
Correct.
The town does not get that fee. That fee
No.
goes directly to the
Bank, it's a bank
to the
fee.
bank, right.
It's a quarter per
Right.
transaction.
Because I have
And-
received some feedback from residents saying, why are we charging this fee? And
Right.
I try to explain to them, we are not charging this fee. And
No.
I know it's not even in your budget as
No.
collecting it.
No.
So I think that's important.
And the numbers for the online collections, they are still going up. Last year, we collected 709 parcels in February, and as of February of 2013, it was 1,187. So even with the 25-cent fee, people are still paying the fee. And
Like-
we're still getting more online.
But I do have a little bone of contention.
Okay.
And, you know, I know when folks come up to the desk and they need things copied, I understand it can be burdensome, but to charge everybody, you know, is it 20 cents a copy now? I mean, the way the taxes are now, if we can't give a service to copy a few pages, now, I think you have to be reasonable, too. I'm not saying if somebody comes up and they need 12 copies of something, that's wrong, but if it's 1 or 2 copies, I would like to ask this board that, you know, we should try to provide at least 2 or 3 copies per resident, so they're not coming up with another 20 or 60 cents every time they come up to that counter, right? I mean, we pay a lot of taxes in this town. It's something to consider. I'm not asking to change anything today, but it's something more for the board to think about. I don't know if you've been up there, but you have to pay every page you need. I mean,
But
if you
that's
get
not
one
only
thing-
our department, it's the whole town
I
hall.
understand, and I'm
Right,
bringing it
okay.
up now. You know, just something to think
You're the
about.
first target.
Yeah,
With that new bullseye in the front of the
Yeah.
podium here.
Because, you know, I was really trying to see where, in your budgets, where that 20 cents goes. And it's more of a, I step back and look at it from a taxpayer and saying, okay, I'm paying a fairly good amount of taxes to live in this town. Rightfully so, there's a lot of great services. But to hit me for 20 cents for 1 copy or 2 copies here and there, I think we can be a little better to our residents than that. But I'll just leave it at that. No, so sorry to put you on the spot on
That's
that
okay.
one.
Everyone else is getting the same question, so
Okay.
don't feel bad. Would you like to get into your budget numbers?
Sure.
That's the next step in the process?
Sure. You're gonna stay with the collections?
Sure.
Yeah, it's the closest page.
Okay. So we're gonna, for level services? Or are we gonna go with the level funded?
I would recommend level services, but it's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think, why don't you,
Because
why don't
the-
we do it this way?
Okay.
Just so people at home can have an understanding too. Tell us what your budget was with FY13. And then
Okay.
what your proposed level funded and level services budget is, and then we can have a discussion on that. And I think that'd be helpful.
Okay, just the bottom line, or each department, each section?
Well, you can start with, I think it's the first page.
Okay.
Personal services first, and then
Okay.
we'll work through it.
All right, so for FY13, it was 183,661. And then to level fund, it is 189,331. And the majority of that is contractual because of the salaries. That's all contractual. So it's a $5,670 increase from last year to this year.
And percent-wise, it's 3.1%.
Correct.
And the level services appears to be the same amount?
Yeah, because it's contractual.
Okay.
And then for the purchases of services, for FY13, it's 54,226. To level fund, it's 46,406, excuse me. I did end up taking items out of repairs and service and tax title, my professional services. And I have 2 professional services that I took a little bit out of each. I took 5,000 out of one, and I took like 800 out of the other. And then the education and training, we took a portion out of that. And I took a small portion out of my postage because of people are paying online too, so I thought that I could try to, take a little bit out of there. We do offer online, people can go online and view their bills, so that, we do tell people if they're looking for copies of their bills, they can go online too. So our goal is try to go green, so hopefully we'll try to be able to email bills to people soon too.
And Am I correct, the bulk of that reduction was, for a level fund, would be about $5,000 out of professional services legal?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is our tax
So
title.
what's the impact on tax title if you take, well,
Well,
what is that? I don't know what they charge, so, I mean.
it depends on, right now, after a property is in tax title, we have to wait 6 months before we can take any legal actions on it. So if we don't have the money in here to take legal actions, everything the current stuff that goes in there, we won't be able to foreclose on it, or get the person, the tax title attorney to write the letters to inform them that we're in the process of foreclosing on your property, to take legal actions and all that. So for us to take it out of that, the $5,000 out of there, it would prolong us collecting the money.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Fisker?
In the postage, it seems like when you look at the year-to-date report that you gave us from Munis, it seems like postage is up, obviously, because the prices have gone up. But you didn't go up much at all in your budget. Are you holding a larger postage budget in the overall finance?
No,
I just don't want you to be short. It
Right.
just seems like you're going to be short.
I don't think.
trends that you
Right, I
see.
don't think we're gonna be short. The majority of this is between the, the weekly warrants and the payroll that goes out,
Mhm.
and plus the motor vehicle and that go out too. So,
Okay.
we're working on other areas to try to save money for postage.
And I know the postal service isn't helping you, so it's just,
No.
I want to make sure you have enough.
Yeah, that should be enough.
Okay.
I don't see needing to go, but they could next year go up again. They already went up this year, so they went up a penny this year, so.
Anyone else, board members? Mr. O'Leary?
Just on the personnel services, I'm just trying to reconcile in my mind what occurred in relation, I guess it's your salary, the department head, and then, did you exercise the 15%, or what was the,
Where, last year?
yeah,
Yes,
so that's
Yeah.
why the
that's
spike.
why it spiked up.
That's why it
Correct.
spiked.
Right.
Okay. So the actual expenditure was significantly higher.
Correct.
But the clerical was down a little bit.
The clerical staff has not taken their percentages yet for their longevity, so that will be coming. So that's why it's gone up, it has gone up, but I know that they're anticipating they're taking their 15% too.
But it appears as though at the end of the fiscal year here, you anticipate some of them are going to be taking it some of it in this fiscal year. That's why we're talking 103 versus 122. I'm looking at the budget.
You're looking at
The
the
actual
FY.
actual
expenditure.
Actual expenditure is going to be 103. 122. Is that year-to-date? This was through what?
This is
That's the budget.
last year's budget, yeah.
12, that's
Yeah,
12.
FY
That's 12, I'm
12
sorry, that's
actual
12.
versus
Actual,
FY
103 to
13 budget.
122, and now, if they're bumping up to the 15% one-time, lifetime opportunity here, wouldn't we see a decrease in those numbers if a certain number of them have exercised it? Unless it was a 50-50 split and it's spread out?
Yeah, no one has taken it so far this year. I'm not sure why it's up that high. I can double check and get back to you.
Yeah, it seems to have spiked.
The breakdown is on one of, should follow.
Yeah,
I don't have the breakdown.
that's what it's on page
Okay.
74.
The 74 for us in the book.
77 in the electronic version.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that.
But I don't, again, I don't, it doesn't necessarily define whether or not it's going to be the 15% is being exercised or not.
No, and 15%, it's not in, it won't be in this budget. The 15% longevity bonuses don't go in the department's budget.
It's out of, what, benefits and
It comes out of the salary.
salary pool? And isn't reflected
The only way it would be reflected here is you would see the expended, year-to-date expended, right, from the previous year.
So once it's expended out of the salary pool in a fiscal year, it then gets reflected as to what was expended, reporting later on. Gets allocated.
We can transfer the money from the salary pool to cover it, so.
And then it gets allocated and reported for the previous fiscal year.
Right. We true it up at the end of the year. If, some departments don't need salary pool transfer if they had a lag in hiring or something like that. They can absorb it.
But you'd see it in the following year under the salary.
You would still see year-to-date expended higher
Right.
than what was budgeted.
Okay, so then what's on page 77 in the long column?
In the, what column?
Long,
That's
I'm sorry, I'm
longevity.
losing my voice, but, long? That's your long,
That's
Longevity.
right.
That's different.
That's
different.
That's,
That's the
there's a
Payment for-
15% longevity.
All right, why don't we let Liz?
I know, that's not in
So
the salary
so we're not
budget.
talking over one another, and someone can explain. Liz, can you get up and just explain that, please?
There's two different longevity amounts. One is longevity for years of service, and the other is the 15% longevity bonus, which you will not see in this. We don't budget for that. That's part of the salary
Sorry.
pool. So the only thing reflected in personal services in the budgets is contractual increases, cost of living, longevity, which is contractual, items like that. And the 15% longevity bonus you will not see reflected here.
Right.
So I guess going back to Mr. O'Leary's original question, there was a spike from what was actually expended in FY12 to what was budgeted for FY13. And then there's a slight increase of 2% for level funded in level services for FY14. I would imagine the 2% is contractual. Help explain, can you deconstruct and help explain why there was a spike for FY13?
So, I guess I'm trying to understand,
If you can't do it, that's fine.
No, I'm just trying to understand the question. We're comparing
The clerical,
actual expended in FY12?
correct, which is 103,192 for clerical,
Okay,
all right? The FY13 budgeted amount was 122,615.
yes.
So there's a spike there.
Mm-hmm.
Of about 15%.
I'll pull it up and look at last year to see what the difference is for you.
Maybe we had a vacant position and you filled it, I don't know.
I know Corinne's
Longevity
longevity
increase,
and
yeah.
increase.
Mhm. And the increases.
Right.
We have one employee that her longevity is going up in FY13, and also step increases, but we can look further into why exactly.
No, I'm just looking from fiscal year 12 to
Right.
fiscal year 13, you've got a 15% increase, and then you're looking, there's another
Mm-hmm.
2+% going forward from that number. So it's not as though they exercise the 115%, and it should decrease again.
Mhm. Right.
And then
Right.
it's like carrying forward for
Mhm.
some reason, and I don't know whether, and again, I don't recall if we added another staff person or what the issue was. I
No.
didn't think so, but
I know a few people are hitting their next level for their longevity. So from going from 0 to 5, you're gonna get longevity, or from 5 to 10, you're gonna get longevity, so those
Right.
amounts
But
do go up.
that's not going to bump you up 15%.
No,
That's gonna bump
but
you up.
that's part of it.
Right,
Um,
okay.
We will have an answer for you. We'll get back to you.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's a $19,000 jump from
Right.
12 to 13, and then then just $2,000, a little bit more, about $2,000 from 13 to 14. But I'm just trying to understand what transpired and caused it to level off, because I don't recall we renegotiated that kind of contract for everybody. We weren't that generous, you know.
Okay,
All right, but
yep, I'll get back to you.
that's fine.
Before you go any further, Greg, at what point in time do you want to get into your recommendations as we?
Not until the department finishes this presentation and this one This one is pretty easy based upon what's been presented here. So,
Okay, and so now we're down to purchases and supplies and purchases. So it's my, FY13, it was 6,000, and then 400 for clothing, that's contractual. That's in their contract, that they get that. So for FY14, $1,500 I decreased my office supplies for, but then I added $2,500, that's for the bank fees, for the deposit bags and for the deposit slips.
I just lost you.
In levels, between level funding and level services.
Right.
Went from 45 back.
Okay, all right, okay, I'm with you. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then other charges and expenses, for 2013, it was $546, so I did decrease it for 2014, $100 to $446. Travel, I did decrease from $12.75 to $8.75, and then dues and membership, I decreased from $650 down to $500, but then the TAC expenses I did add on for FY14 for $1,800, just to try to make up for the difference in for level funding.
A decrease in travel and dues and membership, I suspect that will be a decrease in training and
Yes.
So forth.
Yes. Like I said, I have to keep my certification, but I did want to send my assistant to be certified. She started taking classes a couple of years ago. It's a 3-year commitment to get your certification. You have to go 3 consecutive years and do so many classes. And then on your 3rd year, you're required to take the test. So she started taking some of the, the treasurers a couple of years ago. So she still has a few years to go in, but in the meantime, I still have to keep up my certification too. So.
Questions? Anyone? Okay. I think that's it on your collector's budget. Is that
Okay.
correct? Mr. Valley-Jones?
if you could just refer to the summary sheet, which is on page 75 of the electronic version, which is the summary budget. My recommendations are consistent with what's in the book, which is a salary increase of, a salary of $189,331, which represents a 3.1% increase. And on the expense side of the budget, inclusive of the items that are here, $63,097 represents the total budget of $252,428. That would be my recommendation.
Questions, board members? No? Okay. Finance Committee?
It's important to keep the collections vibrant, funded.
It's a good idea.
Generally, yeah.
You have any questions at this point in time?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to acknowledge that you were here, and if you had any questions, more than welcome to ask. Anyone? Okay, very good. Would you like to proceed to your treasurer's?
Okay, the treasury budget, it's just my salary and my assistant salary, the only 2 salaries that are in my treasury budget. So they did go up. It went up 4.1%. Okay, 4.1%.
Can I just stop you there? These are a tad small, as people can see over the last, since I've been here now, I've have to wear these things.
Yeah, I had to use my, I had to go to the iPad. 'cause
I don't
just
know if
couldn't
there's
read it.
anything that can be done, but, I mean,
It's a one page.
iPad.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
that-
hard to fit it to one page. I'll take any recommendations if there's any suggestions on how to.
Well, it just seems like there's a lot of white
These
space.
eyes
We've
go-
even taken off, if you notice, for this round, taken off 4 columns, which is your 2 columns for your recommendations.
All right.
And the finance committee's 2 columns,
So there's nothing, I mean,
It's
a lot of these have I mean, this is unusual, this is small, there's not much print here, but most of the pages do have,
We can try, I mean.
I don't know. It would help. These eyes are getting old. That's all. Mr.
I
Fode?
hate to throw a wrench in it, but I was actually gonna ask for another column. I think what would help is year-to-date,
Through year-to-date, meaning
through
whenever
it's submitted.
January 31st,
Yeah.
something like that.
First half of the year, something like that, 2
You-
quarters.
You are going to get that report for Saturday's budget hearings. We can try and do something with these spreadsheets to add the column, or we can definitely.
Oh, then
give-
Sean will have to get a magnifying glass.
No,
No, a separate amount.
That's why I went to this. It was the only way I could read.
Thank you.
Make it work.
Reading classes.
Well, the PDF expert's the only way to do it, if you do it in minutes.
Okay, continue, I'm sorry.
And that's okay. So,
Sidetrack.
Under the department head, that's my stipend for being certified, and then under clerical, that's my assistant's salary. And those are the only 2 things I have in my treasury budget, and it did go up 4.1 because of contractual with her increase.
This one was easy.
Excuse me?
This one was easy.
Yes.
Any questions, board members?
No?
Mr. Valiakonis?
57033, representing all of it in the salary account shown on page 72 of your electronic version.
Thank you.
And honestly, it's the only way I can see it is to do the electronic version.
Well, we know we're 3 pages behind.
Okay, thank you very much
Just
for
less
all your
paper.
efforts.
Thank you.
It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Moving on to the assessors budget.
Page 66.
Good evening.
Good evening, guys. How
Yeah, I
are
did
you?
it too.
Good, how are you?
I'm good. All right. First, I'd like to thank you guys, another budget hearing, another successful budget hearing. Here we go. As far as the goals and objectives from the assessor's office, our goals have really remained the same over the last 2 years, and that is to gain the confidence and the trust of the public and the taxpayers of the town. I think our diligence, our due diligence has paid off. After the serious increase in the tax bills, you know, with the tax rate going up $1.66 per thousand this year, our office worked very, very hard in educating the public as to when to file an abatement and when it's not prudent to file an abatement. They worked tremendously hard on that. For that, I'd like to thank them. Excuse me, I have a cold. With that being said, we had a total of 60 abatement applications and 4 personal property. When I walked in this town in 2010, we had 137 that first year, and that wasn't with an increase. In 2012, we had 37 applications. I really thought it would have been triple this year. So I think our diligence in really, really educating the public helped. So those are our goals and objectives, and we're still working on those. I think those are goals and objectives you'd work on forever. As far as that also will lead into the accomplishments, because that has been somewhat accomplished as far as the taxpayers do come to our office. They do get treated very well. We give them our time. You know, I think the education of the staff has been increased significantly, where we're telling them, okay, well, here's how the law goes. You know, if they come in with a motor vehicle excise and we can't abate it, we don't just say we can't abate it. We explain to them why, or what other paperwork we need. So those have been our accomplishments, as well as the commercial and industrial. our income and expense forms that were sent out that we usually have a very, very, very poor response on, I'd like to report tonight, we have a little more than 65% return on the first mailing.
Pretty good.
So that was huge. Also, the forms of list, which is also a state tax form too, that all businesses are required to have in my office by March 1st. I don't have a total count on those because I didn't get a chance to do that today, but I did look at the stack and I know how many, you know, where it should be. And I'd like to report, I know we have at least double the reporting this year on that. So that's all good news with getting the forms that are required in my office to be submitted and timely. In our Form 3 ABC, which is a charitable, they've also come in, and they were all timely. So that's on the objectives and the accomplishments. And any questions?
Mr. Fode?
Yes. On the 37 abatements applications you received in 2012, how many of those actually received?
I really wouldn't want to give an answer to that. I inspected each and every one of them. That is actually protocol in my office now. If you file an abatement, I inspect that property, whether it's commercial, industrial, personal property, or residential, it doesn't matter. If you do not return my phone call to inspect that property, then that result is going to be a denial. So I really, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to say we granted 5 abatements or 6 abatements.
Can I ask you why? I don't.
Why?
I'm missing, yeah, I don't follow, I guess.
Well, if I don't do those inspections and I'm receiving this abatement application that's saying I have 2 bathrooms and I have them down for 3, it's protocol to see it. Protocol to see the condition of the property, protocol
Okay.
to make sure the measurements are correct,
I get
garbage
that.
in, garbage out. So that's why, and I keep it very uniform. It's inspected. Not to mention, on those inspections, even for abatements, that adds to my cyclical review, so that we're not going out for a warrant article for $200,000.
All right, let's get, I think it's it's simpler than that. You had 37 applications for
Yep.
abatements. How many abatements were granted out of that 37? You say you don't want to tell us the number. I'd like to know why you don't want to. You don't have to get into everything else.
It's not that I don't want to tell you the number. I will tell you the number. I don't have it on me right now.
Oh, that's different.
That's
Okay.
right. No,
Okay.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
that's different. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
No,
fine.
I
And it-
don't have that number, and I wouldn't
Okay.
want to say it if I don't know exactly.
That's fine. Okay, now I understand.
And it's probably easier, because you said if you make an appointment and someone doesn't respond to your request to see the property, then they
Denied.
automatically come off that 37. So it might be easier for you to turn around and say, out of the 37, this is how many I got into, and this is how many abatements. So I think it's a little fairer to you to say, because 37 isn't an accurate number if you're not getting into any of those properties.
Well, there were 37 applications filed.
Right, but
So-
you're not getting into all 37 properties,
Right.
because they may have, once you set an appointment, they're not keeping that appointment.
That's correct.
Right, so it's,
But-
what I'm saying is, out of the 37, how many did you actually go into the property? And then from that, how many were actually
And
abated?
what I'm asking is, can I get back to
Yes,
you with
yeah, but I'm making it
precise
easier for you.
numbers? Yeah.
I don't want to
'cause-
base it on the
And
37.
that was a year ago. That was a
Fair
year
enough.
ago, so.
Mr. Mauceri.
What's your experience in terms of the number of people that go past you when you turn one down to the appellate tax board?
What's my,
Percentage-wise, roughly.
I'm not sure I understand.
You turn down an abatement, the individuals still have a disagreement with the Board of Assessors, they file for,
An ATB appeal?
right.
Right now, currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pending appeals. Two of them are from 2012. They're industrial properties. No, I take that back, 3. And commercial and industrial properties. I have 2 residential.
When you come back to, I'm sorry, when you come back to us with the number of abatements,
Mhm.
you can come back with those that were granted, what was the dollar amount that was allowed?
Oh,
as well?
absolutely, yeah,
All right,
that's.
so I don't want to piecemeal it to you, if you can come back with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Prisco?
Deborah, would you do me a favor when you start to go through the spreadsheets? The first spreadsheet that carries everything has a 3% increase in the personnel services, but on the next page, when you have it in the next level of detail, it shows 6%. So maybe I'm not adding it correctly or saying it correctly, but if you could just point out what the increase is, I would appreciate it, unless I'm missing it. So on page 63.
The 3% is doing the overall budget increase, and
It looks to me like formula, some formula got copied into that column. So
Yeah.
calculating the percent.
I'm not doing it, though, I'm doing it over the total budget. Yeah.
Some of the line items have been doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on it, so when you go through it, if you could just highlight it.
Okay.
Liz, do you see it?
I see the 2, the 4, and then,
Well, if you start with the summary page,
right.
personal services, percent increase, 3%?
3%, which is taking.
But, okay. Okay.
It's taking the 4880 over the FY13 budget amount of 16846.
Okay.
So the increase is 3%.
Okay.
And then,
But if you turn to the next page in the detail, and it's showing like 6%?
It's just the formula under the FY 2014 percentage column, increase, decrease.
I'm sure.
It's just adding the 2 percentage
Yeah.
figures.
I had a feeling
Yeah,
that's what
it's
it
just
was.
adding the percentage figures down,
Right.
rather than
It's not
overall
averaging
between the
them.
2 figures.
I think you had a formula
Rather than
issue,
the
that's
bottom
all.
line figures.
Yeah, it's on average.
So I wasn't sure if I was reading it wrong,
No,
or
just
if there was a
the
formula
formula.
issue.
Yep.
well, the funny thing is mine doesn't have that, so it must have updated the formula when it opened. So my bottom line is a 3% increase on
That's
the.
Oh,
at
okay.
mine house, too.
So I don't know what happened in translation.
Can we get your budget books?
No, but
I'm
I
just
see the
kidding.
2 and the 4, and what that bottom line does, it's not adding the column of the 2 and the 4, it's adding the bottom line over the total.
It is in the budget book.
Yeah, it isn't the one you
It
have.
is, yeah.
There must have,
Maybe.
something didn't update, because we
Yeah.
didn't change this budget, so.
So 3% is the number I should have on my note.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Well,
Perfect.
I'll update the electronic version.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay, do we want to start with the level fund?
So why don't we do this for the public? If you state actually what was actually expended in FY 2012, what your FY 2013 budget was, and then your level funded and level services is with the percent increase.
Okay, if we start with personal services, we did have a change of we had a change of personnel. We had one of our grade 2 clerks retire, and we hired another grade 2, and that was at a lower salary, which is why if you look at FY12, my personal services was $179,994. And then for 2013, going into 2013, it was 167 something. And then with the grade 2 change, we changed it to the 168.46 because that was as of July 19th that happened. So the budget was updated in July.
So your FY 2013 budget for
For
personal services.
2013, correct, which is a difference of, what, 14,268. So that would be the change in the personal services, and the 3% from 13 to 14 is strictly the longevity, the contractual for the TAC. not the TAC, for the union clerical contracts for the union.
Any questions?
Yeah, just
Mr. O'Leary?
looking again at the spreadsheet again from FY 12 to 13, we had the original budget under total personnel service, 159. The actual was 179, so $20,000 adjustment somewhere along the way. And now, current year budget, 160, which would follow true with the change of personnel, a little less,
Right.
including the increases. So there's a $20,000 spike in the actual for 2012 from the original budget, back down to the 160, and now we're talking about a level funding of 165, but
Right.
just, it's,
Which
just,
is-
I don't understand what the
Yeah.
$20,000 spike was.
I had the same question.
It was revised at some point in FY 2012,
Right.
it was revised.
When my budget was set for FY 13, that was with my, well, for
What about
2012.
Go back
Is it
one,
just-
go back one year.
Go back one year.
2012,
2012, the original budget was 159, the actual ended up being 179, I was 180.
Go see 180.
179.
There was
Yeah,
an
179.94.
179.94.
There was an employee, a senior employee who was at the top of her step scale, and she also took her 15% longevity bonus in 2012. That employee is no longer there. A new employee has come on board at the lower end of the step scale. I'm saying it results
So
100% in the amount, but that's the reason why there's such a large discrepancy.
That's why it was revised in
Right.
2012. The actual
And then go back
corresponds to the
Then go
revision.
back to what Liz said, it comes out of the salary pool and then becomes reflected
In your
in
budget.
your budget, right?
Which
Right.
is, yes, if I may
Okay.
just interject for a second. The reason, you see the original budget was 20,000 lower, then you have the revised, that's due to a transfer in from the salary pool. And like the town administrator just mentioned, we had the senior employee who was at the top of her step levels. Also included in that 20,000 would be sick buyback, vacation buyback. Those are unbudgeted items, so that's included in those. And then she also received her longevity bonus, and if there was any other buyout that happened.
Mr. Valiakonis, do we have the ability to put it up on that projection screen?
Not this evening, but going forward for the next meeting, I'll make sure that everything gets projected up on the
I
screen.
think it'd be helpful. We have an audience here and an audience at home.
Certainly.
Okay, that explains it, though, thank you. Between the buybacks and the adjustments.
The license.
So we don't, it's not on here this evening?
No, the purpose of the projector is
You
for
may wanna say something,
presentations
Sean.
that different departments will be doing this evening on their budget.
Mr. Valiakonis, do you want me to turn the projector on so we can have the spreadsheets up?
Apparently, it's not on there.
It's not on there.
Oh, it's not?
Yes, sir.
We can't get Dropbox on that?
You can call it up if you wish.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mr. Prisco, I'd like you to do it. I think it'd be
I think
better
it's,
for those here and those
oh,
at home
especially
watching.
for you guys. But keep going and I'll,
Well, we'll do it, if we could just take a break, because I just realized there's a gentleman here for a one-day liquor license, and I apologize. We should have handled you, got you out of here, and that's what I'd like to do right now.
Probably driving to
And
drink.
while we're getting this to go off, driving us all to drink. All right. Come on up. One-day liquor license, the FA Project, Inc. You've come before us at least once, I think twice. This is your third time coming, and I know it's been a success. That's why you're coming back again for a one-day liquor
It's
license.
actually our fourth year.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
We
missed
do
one.
it every year at the Candlewood Lanes up here. It's a bowl-a-thon. And, we have had very successful events over the past 4 years, so a really good turnout. It's a
What's the
private
date of the event this year?
4/6, April 6th.
Great. Mr. Valiakonis, all departments have signed up?
issues.
There's no issues?
None.
Very good.
Right.
Do I have a motion, Mr. Fode?
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant a one-day wine and malt beverage license to the FA Project, Inc. for an event to be held at Candlewood Lanes, 35 Main Street on April 6, 2013, between the hours of 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
All right, thank you very much. See you
I
next year.
apologize again. Thank you. Good luck.
Good, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Delaney, the Dropbox isn't on that computer, so we're just going to run it off mine, if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
And I'll just drive and,
We're We're gonna wait. Yeah. We'll take a short recess while we'll call the presentation up on.
Oh, you have it on flash drive?
I can put it, save it to flash drive real quick.
Oh, then don't break it down, though. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I do like the screen over there, though. It's easier for me to see.
Rita, do you want to sell some wine and social tickets? Wine and social tickets while we're waiting?
Yeah, right now.
Samples for everyone.
We'll sell you a bottle of wine, just leave your information at the desk.
Oh, yes.
Change it. Change it for you.
What?
Can I change it all from here?
I think so. Don't disconnect, because that ties in now.
It's gonna take too long.
That's what I was.
I can use mine for Dropbox if you want. It doesn't
No,
matter.
I'll do mine. You need yours.
It's 12,000 kilobytes, so.
Yeah.
Probably true. So we're figuring 6, yeah, and then 7, 2, roughly.
Thank you. And if you could just plug that in for me. Oh, thank you. Sean, do you know how to use this?
Me?
Yeah.
You can do it. I'll delegate that to you. Who's that?
Roger? I don't need it now. I'm going to do it from my computer. I don't need it. Okay. Should be up here in a second.
To hire contractual service.
It's coming up right now. My computer's old, so it's going to take a little while. Sean, why don't we just continue?
Why don't we continue with this one? This isn't a big.
Please continue.
Okay. Are we done with personal services?
Yes.
Okay. So we can move on to purchase of service. My repairs and maintenance has stayed the same. That $65 is actually to repair our typewriter. And yes, we do use it. A couple of other offices use it too. Professional services. Back in 2013, we had decided that it made good sense to put an extra $5,000 or so, $5,030 into my budget so that we could stay on top of the number of parcels that are state mandated to be collected. That means measured and listed for the Department of Revenue. And as ironic as it is, I just had a email correspondence with my field rep from the DOR today, inquiring what my percentage is to date. Now, that's not unusual because we're in a reval year anyway, but at the end of the day, what they want to know is that we are doing this. The I don't want to use consequence. if we do not maintain the number of parcels, what happens is, at the end of that 10-year cycle, say I visit 300 plus homes. In 10 years, 10 times 3 is 3,000. We have 6,497 parcels. We are going to have to go out with an RFP to a contractor to do that. What my thought is, and this is what I presented to the board in 2013, I do my 300 plus, which is sales, which is building permits, abatements, and if a taxpayer calls me, I go out. Then we hire, like I have the person out there right now, he does about 200 a year. That keeps us on that cycle so that we don't have to go out for an RFP. The last RFP in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, was $194,900. And to me, we keep the continuity of our data, which is so important in my office. If everyone calls a colonial, if you hire a company and you have 10 people out there, they're not all going to look at that colonial the same way. And this is vitally important in my office. At the end of the day, that's the difference in the purchase and sale. The purchase services, and that's where I reduced to level fund. Postage, my postage went up $300. That is for the income and expense forms that we're now mailing. I do hope that once the commercial and industrial accounts get used to sending this in, we can reduce this. Last year, I sent out 3 mailings. This year, I'm only sending out 2. The second one will say final notice. So, and I didn't have any other changes in the purchase services. And I didn't have any changes in the personal, for supplies, purchase of service for supplies in any of the categories except for I removed subscriptions. I've actually found another way to obtain that data that we used to pay that $200 for. Other charges and expenses, the dues and membership. My dues for the CSC, which is our Community Software Consortium, that is my appraisal system. It's a state CAMA system. Their dues go up just about every year. That is one of our big changes here. That's gone up from 1,000 to 1,400. The other is my MAAO designation went up $50. So that's the change that's in there. And outside of that, nothing else changed.
Board members,
Any
questions? Mr. Messeri?
Just to clarify, getting back to the professional services.
Yep.
I just want to make sure I understood it properly. By keeping that $10,300 number, you have enough additional resource to cover 500 typically in the year? Thus eliminating the need to do the annual 3-year or repeating 3-year?
Well, yes. That's my plan. At the end of that 10-year cycle, I may be 75 parcels short. Is the DOR going to hang me on that, or are they going to make us spend the, say, $30 a parcel and get that 75 done? It's still better than the $194,000 warrant article. So with that being said, that's why I'm really thinking this is in the best interest of the community for me having field experience so I can go out there, I can measure, I can inspect, I know new construction. And then keeping that cyclical and having him out there and, we work together. He knows what I classify property at. And I do his data entry too. That was the other way that we got that number down. he goes out in the field and I'm still doing the data entry, which is a little more workload on my office, but you know what? I can see what he's doing out there.
In
So
FY
it's kind of a check and balance too.
In FY13 was the first year we've taken that approach.
Correct.
Anyone else? Any questions? Finance Committee? Any questions? Everyone's good? Okay. Mr. Valiakonis.
Recommendation is salary budget of $165,726, expenses of $16,520 for a total budget request of $182,246. I wanted to point out that Debbie didn't make note in her presentation that the Board of Assessors is appointed. It's a professional board. They're required to have certification. It's quite the level of training that's required to keep up that certification. So I wanted to thank her and her professional assessing staff for doing that.
Thank you.
I do have one further question. Dues
I
and
have a
membership.
question.
Dues and memberships. Last year, you actually expended over $2,000, but you're only asking for $1,550. Is that enough?
Yes, because my CSC is $1,400, and then our memberships for the MAAO equals exactly that. There will be nothing left in the end, zero.
That's fine, but okay, so there was a spike last year. In terms of dollars, it wasn't that much, but I just want to make sure you have enough to have your certification and so forth. Why was it?
They actually just changed our designation amount last Wednesday. So when I did this,
So they
but
lowered it?
I do have enough. We'll
Okay.
cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, get out while the getting's good. Elder Services, Mrs. Prenny, thank you for joining us.
With page numbers.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I want to start by saying that I know I'm already preaching to the choir, so therefore I'm going to be quick with my little sermon here. I have a few numbers to throw out and a few stories to tell. You've heard it all before. And I know some of you, when I get finished with my presentations, must be saying, wouldn't it be nice if that woman served some cheese with that wine? So I'm going to start by saying you do know my department represents 20.2% of the community. That's actually a 1.1 increase from last year. Our elders, and an elder is considered in North Reading 60 or older, again this year outnumbers the students in the school system. We're able to do this for the enormous amount of $13,782, which the town gave us last year to spend in our operating budget, which, by the way, is about $1,000 more than the school spent last year per student. We did this thanks to a great staff of volunteers who donate hours of their time for huge cost savings to the town, and also with the financial support of our Friends of the COA and the moral support of our COA board. Just last month, the Friends of the COA replaced the kitchen counters, sink, and faucets at the senior center. At last, there is no more Pepto Pink to be found in the senior center. They will also be replacing our 62-inch television, which just last week broke down, which, as you can imagine, is of vital importance to a senior center. Last May, the COA board hosted a social service summit, inviting all town agencies, schools included, to a meeting to discuss the social service needs of all residents of North Reading. I'm happy to say from that meeting and under the direction of the Community Impact Team, a social service action team was put into place. The SSAT has put together a community crisis resource guide that will be used to identify all crisis referral agencies in the area and will be distributed to the members of the community who work with the public sector and will also be available online for the entire community. This guide is only one more meeting away from going to the publisher. Mystic Valley Elder Services, who the town partners with to distribute our elder care services, provided 213 North Reading residents with over $668,000 worth of valued services. I'm pleased to say that 29 of these residents were eligible for nursing facility care, but were able to remain in their homes because of the services they received. Just this morning, I had a lovely visit with one of these residents, who is 94 years old. She's been able to stay in her home with services for the past 17 years. She is thriving and intends on living to be 109. It seems her mother passed away at 108. But unfortunately, again this year, the state home care services budget is scheduled to receive less state funding, which of course will affect all of these residents and their families. The town administrator said it might be a good idea if we list our accomplishments this year. Well, I can say with 3.5 months left in the fiscal year, and my fingers crossed, I hope to be able to continue all of our program and services to our residents again this year. But, and you know there's always a but, with our elderly population growing and budgets either being cut or level funded, I can't promise that the status quo will last much longer, and there will be difficult choices to make. These are difficult financial times for many of our residents, especially our elderly residents. We help a great deal of them, but there are many who we don't know about, or more importantly, are too proud to ask for help. So please, of those of you here today, and folks who may be listening at home, let your family neighbors know about our Department of Elder Affairs. We're there to help and provide services if you or someone else know is in need. And last fact, gentlemen, and Abby, elders are the fastest growing population group in the state. The elder population in Massachusetts will have grown 71% between 2000 and 2030. So I ask everyone, is North Reading ready to make a more friendly elder community? I hope so. So,
Thank you.
that's it. As you can see, Liz
And the cheese
passed
is
out
coming when?
Pardon me?
The cheese is coming when?
It's coming. Oh, why? Wine and cheese. Rex bringing it along with tickets. Tickets to be sold. There has been a change in my budget. I noticed today that there was a change. We listed $75. I'm requesting a iPhone cell phone stipend. And I realized, like my kids would probably realize, I only put it in for 1 month. I wanted it for the year. $825.
That's a good deal.
Yeah,
I wanted to get on that.
Yeah, you want to get on my plan?
I want to get on that plan. Yeah.
So, that's it. Any questions, gentlemen?
Was there anything on these slides you wanted to go through?
No, that's fine. I just basically said it in my little narrative. It's all there.
So the iPhone's actually 75 a month, not 70.
Pardon me?
The iPhone's 75 a month.
A month, approximately. My family's share of what I spend to, I don't have a laptop. I do a lot of work. I work 24/7 with Public Safety, Fire Department, and Police Department. And just recently, we did the shelter at the high school during the storm, and the only access we had was my cell phone and my iPhone. We didn't have access to Wi-Fi or anything in the school. So, it
Well,
came.
you could have said yes.
Yes. Questions?
Mr. Messeri.
I just want to comment on the fine job that you and your department does for the elders in town.
Oh, thank you.
And, clearly, as a board, we need to think more seriously about supporting our elders.
The numbers are coming, and the people who are now, looking at those schools, and they want more when they become of age, they're going to want more programs and services for themselves, or especially some of these people want services for their family members. The numbers are coming.
I just was curious, what is a vehicle supply? Like what
A
type of
vehicle
things?
supply is probably an oil change.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping we do have in the operating budget a new van. Our van is getting old, so I'm hoping that we get our new van, because we might be spending a lot more than $70 in vehicle supplies if we don't get it.
The a question I had about the van was, I know within the capital plan, I don't want to extend the meeting, but we had gone from a fairly large bus
Yes.
to this van. Am I under the impression now you want something even smaller?
No,
No?
I want a 10-passenger van is fine for us. I want a better quality van. I know some of you have taken a ride in the van, and if you sat at the back of the bus, you can imagine being an elderly person and going over those bumps and roads, and it's uncomfortable.
You need to wear a hard hat.
Yeah.
I can promise that the air conditioning worked well on the day that we went out, which was about 5 degrees. Very well. Heat never came on. Heat never came on.
Yeah. Well, we fixed it that way. We knew you were coming.
Do you just want to go through?
What do you want me to? Yeah, I mean, I can if you want. It's basic, simple. I don't have much of a budget here.
Just so the public, we've gone through it, so the public can be aware of it.
Okay.
It's not much.
No, it's not much at all. As you can see, our salary increase is all contractual increases, whatever's involved there. Repairs and maintenance is the same. Now, professional services, if we do have to take unfortunately, a hit and be level funded, that money will come out of my professional service budget, which means there'll be health and wellness programs that will be deleted, or people would have to pay a lot of money for those health and wellness programs. Some of our entertainers is where we're looking to cut if it's level funded. There's not much of a change. Repairs and maintenance is the same from 2012. The difference in our professional services, we're asking a little bit more money in professional services because cultural grant money is not available. The funding is low there, so we're asking for more money in that area. Everything, our office supplies, fuel, which we no longer, thank God, have to worry about. Vehicle supplies is the same. Basically, everything is the same from the year before, not much differences.
No new bingo machine?
No, that's coming in our new TV.
Okay.
Unfortunately, one of the reasons why it's vital we have our TV fixed, we now play bingo off our TV with the software, so we do not have the TV on the widescreen. So that's very important that we get that fixed, as Mr. Prisco can attest to, because he's on an on-call bingo caller.
It's a tough crowd.
It's a tough crowd.
Any questions? FinCom? No?
I'll do that.
Oh, Abby?
Yeah, count me in.
How many, I realize that there's just a huge number of people that live. However, I guess what I'm curious about is how many people actually go to
For our senior center?
on a regular basis and really use your excellent services?
To our senior center, I actually don't have all those numbers here. We service a lot more people in town other than coming to the senior center. We service them through home care agencies. Let's see. I would say in about 1,041 that came through our doors one way or another, whether it's through, and some of those are, extra people, whether they're coming for an exercise program, they're getting a meal, they're coming through the building for one reason or another.
So that's 1,000 people this year so far?
Oh, last year. This year's not finished yet, yeah. So they're coming through the people. It's unfortunate because we have numbers that go up and down, and since the week before Christmas, we have actually had, as of last week, actually 14 people pass away. Whether we service them through coming through the center, getting a ride, or whether we're providing them a meal at home. And you can imagine what happens to our statistic if one of those people are people who come every day to the center, they have lunch every day, we bring them to the bank, and numbers go down. So, which is a sad, it's a sad thing. I don't know what's going on, but and those are just the people that we know of that one way is in our database. So.
Any other questions from FinCom? Nope. Mr. Valiakonis?
Based upon the sheet that was handed out this evening that Liz provided, I recommend the salary budget at $124,749, expenses at $15,477 for a total budget of $140,225. 5s and 8s are the same.
Okay.
6. But 124,749 and 15,477.
Where's the 15?
So
Oh,
that
I'm
would
looking
be
at the wrong one.
140,226.
140. Okay.
And I think that's a pretty small budget.
Thank
Greg,
you.
I'm sorry.
What were those
we're
again?
confused.
Yes.
Where's the services number? We have 9,127.
No, wrong numbers.
Right up there. You can see it up on the board.
The personnel services, well, again, 124,
I'm sorry.
749.
Right.
Right?
Expenses, 15,477.
Okay, you see this number right here, Greg?
Yeah.
That's not the number.
You have to go by the updated copy that Mary said she omitted.
Yes, as Mary indicated, it reflects the cost.
What's your total number?
140,226.
Okay. All right, I'm with you now. Yep.
1,000.
As amended this
Okay.
evening.
Yeah.
Yes, as
What
amended.
Greg is going by is just total expenses, he's not
Got it.
breaking it out by purchases,
Right.
services, he's just doing bottom line.
That's right.
Thank you.
I see it now on this one, okay.
Mrs. Sperry, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
We know we have some work to do.
Get heat in the van.
Recreation.
No, library.
Library, sorry. Skipped over library.
I'm sorry. He's halfway up.
I know, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
pass
sorry.
Wow,
Checked it out.
tough crowd to wait.
I could just see them waiting to get at us. So I was like, let's get them out of here.
I do have a PowerPoint,
Okay.
so,
You want to put it on,
well, it's on that other laptop,
Well,
but I also have it on a USB if it's easier to just put it
Put on
on.
the USB.
After I do a little introduction.
whatever
and-
can I
and
take it
even-
and set it up while you're,
Okay, it's, there's only
Helen.
one PowerPoint. It's not too much on the disk. I'd also like to give you this sheet that has to do with the municipal appropriation requirement for the past few
Thank you very much.
years. In the narrative, I put the.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Get over here. Thank you.
Just go back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Elaine. Thank you. Thank you. My category of work there. Yes. The total number that.
Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you,
Welcome.
everybody. I'd like to introduce, we have several people here from the library. Judy Seeger, our Assistant Director, and Sharon Kelleher, our new trustee chair as of this year. Marcy Bailey, who's been on the board for quite a while, our former trustee chair, Lorraine Sheehan. And they will be speaking as well in a little while.
Welcome, ladies.
Appreciate their being here and giving us support. I'd like to just talk a little bit about this past year, as Mr. Valiakonis has suggested. And I know I was here a while ago in the fall to talk about a gift that the library received in memory of Dorothy Ness, who had been the children's librarian for a long time, from the late 50s to 1990, and received quite a bit of money, and we were able to use it to buy a puppet theater and some puppets. And one of my favorite puppets is one that turns from a frog into a prince, back and forth, so the kids
You gonna work up here?
enjoy that. And a whole set of books, of classic children's books that were reprinted by the New York Review of Books. So the children's room is very lively. The Lego Club, and I've talked about it for the past 2 or 3 years, is very popular. There's one for older kids and one for slightly younger ones. There's also, the children's room does drop-in crafts every month that are very popular. And parents and grandchildren come with their kids, and they enjoy doing the crafts too. It's a nice atmosphere. This summer, we're going to be doing the summer reading theme is Dig into Reading, with an exploration of underground. And we will have a storyteller come that's funded by the Cultural Council, and there'll be a play put on of The Secret Garden. And we're really very busy up in the children's room. We always talk about technology because the library we try to keep up. We have a new website this year that was designed by T.K. Rose in a WordPress software, which is easy to use, so it means quite a few people can work on it. And this was funded out of our state aid, not out of the operating funds. We also have a new electronic bulletin board near the circulation desk, and we put events up on it, but we also put artwork, photographs, and right now we have some beautiful photographs that Mr. Mauceri took at the Chihuly Museum in Seattle. People appreciate looking at them. People are checking out ebooks even more than ever. And there's, just as of today, there's a new interface for Overdrive, the software that's used to download books. People are frustrated with Overdrive. The state is trying to come up with an alternative or improving on it. The Douglas County in Colorado has put together several different offerings for ebooks, and I think Massachusetts is going to try to do that. Meanwhile, if you can, everybody's entitled to get a card from Boston Public Library, so that expands your offerings for ebooks. And also, there are people looking into getting a statewide card. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but that's something that people are looking forward to having. Our Evergreen catalog keeps being improved, and right now, at the moment, you can have text messages instead of email for when you get books that have arrived for you or if they're overdue. And you also can keep your own reading list. People have wanted this for years, of what you've read, and it's your own confidential list. As you may have been reading, we are currently having our 10th community reading program, North Reading Reads 2013, and we're focusing on the mystery writer of Robert B. Parker. And NORCAM was just here. They're going to film 3 of our events. And we were talking about YouTube earlier. On Facebook today, they had a YouTube video of an author we had last year, Chuck Hogan, whose book was made into the movie The Town. You may have heard of that. And so we're going to have Hank Philippi Ryan, who's a TV commentator and mystery writer, and also the widow of Robert Parker is going to be here this month. And in addition to North Reading Reads, we also have North Reading Writes. Every November there's a National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, which was encouraged for us to do this by Marcy. And there's about 4 or 5 people who've written at least 4 or 5 novels, and a couple of them have been published, and this is just in the past 2 or 3 years. So the library likes to be involved in fostering creativity. And I would just like to take a minute to thank the Friends of the Library for all their support, because they provide a lot of things that the operating budget doesn't. And the trustees honored the Friends this year by having a tea for them in November, and they nominated them for a Fantastic Friends Award. So the Friends fund a lot of things you may have heard of, like Wowbrary, many of our museum passes, our email newsletter, which just went out today. And it really, I think, enhances what we can offer. The Friends have also received a substantial gift in the last couple of years in memory of Mary Rubenstein. So the Mary Rubenstein Legacy Fund is going to fund a series of lectures in celebration of the tercentenary. And the first one is in May, and it's about researching the history of your house. The trustees and I have been talking about the library as a destination that people want to go to, and we're focusing on ways to make the whole building more welcoming, especially on the first floor. So now we have coffee. Maybe you probably already know that, but part of that goes to support the Friends, and we're going to try to add technology. And as for the future, I've mentioned this, and I mention it in my narrative every year, that according to the town clerk, the population is now just over 15,000. When I submit a report every year to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, they use a figure put out by the DOR, which at the moment is slightly under 15. DOR wants a number they can use for every town that's from the same. They're using the 2010 census. But any year now, the DOR figure is going to be over 15,000. And what happens then? We have to add, the library has to be open more hours because it's based on population. And we had originally going to be we're planning to present a proposal tonight, but we're not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to let you know that we do have a proposal. We showed it to Mr. Masseri and Mr. Baluconis to add hours. The state grants you a 3-year grace period, grants us. But it's going to happen. So we just would like everybody to have it in the back of their mind or be prepared.
So Helena, so we haven't hit the trigger yet in the eyes of the state yet.
Right. So, we were.
According to them, we're about 18 short, so it's going to come quickly.
We were hoping.
Not that far.
We could get the hours up even before we hit that, because a lot of libraries actually are over the number of hours they have to be open, but for various reasons.
So just in anticipation, how many hours additional are we going to have to add?
Well, you have to add 5, but the trustees were going to ask for 9, actually. Just to give you a warning.
It was rationale.
I'm sure there was. I see who's in that crowd over there.
But
Sure there's
yes,
rationale.
the requirement would be, and it would actually be 6 the way that the
If I can stop you for a
configuration.
second, I think
Excuse
we
me.
have a question from.
I'm sorry, Abby.
Robert.
Through Mr. Millian to, could you explain the logic of the state requiring you to increase the number of hours as your population goes up, decreasing the amount of money you excuse me, spend on books?
There's 2 words that don't go together, state, logic, so it's decrease.
When you go over 15,000, 5,000,
I know.
then you go up in the number of hours you have to,
Mhm.
et cetera. But the decrease they might have to spend on books.
But
It's based upon a percentage
higher
of.
figure.
Right.
It actually would be a little higher.
It'll go up.
You'll still be spending more money on books.
The percentage amount drops,
Right.
but it's based upon.
It's still crazy.
Well, your salaries, the salary side is going to go up
Yeah, that's great.
substantially. So that 15, the whole budget will be
Yeah,
higher.
no, I understand.
You don't agree? Well,
I just think that you had an increased population, you might increase the percentage.
of course.
Well, you'll,
Yeah, that would be.
but you'll increase the amount that it's expended. It's just the
On a bigger
percentage
number.
drops.
Yeah.
I think it's a way for them
One
to.
percentage point.
I'm sorry?
It drops by 1 percentage point.
Yeah, but it's factored on a larger number.
Right.
So it's going to
Bottom
go up.
line, you're spending more. Even though the formula looks less. Looks like a good deal, right? It's not. Yeah.
I told you, state logic. Sorry, we got you off track. Okay.
Well, that was for the background and the highlights. That was what I wanted to say. And if you had any questions about that, or
Board members, any questions regarding that?
the PowerPoint is related, if we look at the spreadsheet, is related to, we actually have 3 columns, level fund, level services, and needs budget. So the PowerPoint is related to the 3rd one, which is the highest. And
Do you want me to show the spreadsheet first and then go to this, or you want me to just stay here?
well, I wonder if maybe we should show the spreadsheet and then go to it. Don't you think?
I don't think. it might
Or do you
be-
want to do this first?
You can't really see it up there anyway.
Do you want to just do the PowerPoint? Okay. You like? Okay. The needs budget, the 3rd column, is asking to add 10 more hours to one of the positions, the head of circulation. And the position was reduced in 2002 by 10 hours. And this would be included this year in this budget. So the needs budget is substantially larger than the other 2. And you can go to the next slide. What does this person do? Works 25 hours, and Judy Seeger is going to speak further about this in just a minute, but she does all the munis work, all the bookkeeping, supervises circulation, and trains staff, and she solves problems and orders supplies, answers the phone. So she does a lot, 25 hours a week, and certainly we could use her for 35 hours a week, so I think Judy's going to speak to that.
I think when people think about the library, everybody recognizes we circulate books. So this is not an obscure position. Most libraries have a full-time head of circulation. very often that full-time head of circulation is not the person doing the bookkeeping as well. We are really getting a tremendous amount of work out of this position. We're open 45 hours per week. The head of circ works 25. We have 2 circulation desks that are open at all times. We have increased circulation and increased activity in the library in general. In addition to overseeing the problems that we have in North Reading, she's our problem solver for the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. If anybody from North Reading goes to another library and has an issue at their library, the other library would call us and wish to speak to our head of circ. If there's a problem with one of our items in another library, a book, a movie, they would call and want to speak to the head of circ. So we get a lot of calls when she's not there and someone else has to deal with the problem.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay. She deals with Munis every day that she's in. 1 day a week she's not there at all for any portion of the day, and there are Munis issues that come up. She processes all of our requisitions, invoices, bill schedules. She needs to talk with other businesses that we deal with. A lot of things end up being put off and not handled as efficiently as they could be handled. The software for our library services is evolving. There's training that needs to be done, training that needs to be kept up. We have new software for museum passes. We have our Wowberry software. All of those things need attention. And she's not the only one that does these things, obviously. But many of the things, she's the prime person. One thing she does for us is answer the phone. And she routes all the calls when she's present. When she's not there, other people have to pick up the other 20 hours of phone calls. And that really adds up. And what it does is destroy concentration if you have to stop what you're doing and answer the phone. I'm the person who shares the office with her, so when she's not there, I pick up the slack for many of the questions. And in the 11 years since her hours were cut, we have continually added more services and more programs. So we would like to see her 10 more hours a week.
You go to the next slide.
And this shows everything that isn't getting done because management can't get to it. Meeting goals, undertaking new initiatives. I don't know if that word neighborhoods might seem somewhat puzzling, but it's something that Judy has been working on. You're going to see less of things arranged by Dewey Decimal and more by subject area like bookstores. And so we just, we really have a lot of things that we'd like to do, and especially in the area of technology that we just aren't able to do. And if you go to the last slide and just show, this came from the state, the Massachusetts MBLC, in their annual report. You see how many people go to libraries and how much people are borrowing, and then how much money has been reduced from libraries. And yet, there was an article recently, the beginning of the year, there were several very substantial articles about libraries in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And one of them said, and you might have seen it, bookstores are going under and libraries somehow are thriving, or sort of picking up the slack of bookstores and offering all kinds of new services. And so that, and I know, Sharon, you were going to speak too. It was,
I don't have anything written down.
A little bit different than
Do you hear me from here?
Why don't you come up to the podium?
No problem. We're winging it. Sharon Kelleher, I'm the new chair of the trustees. I just wanted to support what Helena was saying, how the library is such a vital resource in this town. It is utilized and appreciated by the North Reading residents so much, and we're so grateful to have it. And the library has been able to add services without adding additional staff time, and they do a terrific job. The staff never complains, but with Services like Event Keeper, which allows people to book museum passes at home, online, anytime at night. Also, interlibrary loan, where you can be sitting at home in your pajamas and you can request books. Well, the next day, the staff has to be the ones to pull those books and do all of that. So the staff is inundated with daily tasks, and it doesn't leave them any time to do any collaboration or any projects or any forward thinking. So to that end, the trustees fully encouraged Helena and completely support her request for more hours to keep the library moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prisco?
Lena, the 1.05 state aid funding, we get that now?
We do get state aid, yes.
And how much are we getting?
It's around 12 or between 12 and 14,000, 12, 13,000. It's been cut a little bit over since the last 10 years. It was about 16 and it's kind of gone down.
On 15,000.
And
is it highlighted here? Because I didn't see it.
Highlighted in the budget?
In your overview.
It may not be.
Okay.
It may not be, but it's used. We use it for buying computers, and we do support some of our services with it, like the Event Keeper and Tics Keeper come out of state aid. I can put it in the future. I don't. But we also save a lot in case we need it for other. We've used it on the building to redo the activity room floor and Capitol. I received 11. We received the library received 11,000 last year. There was one year when the population was completely off. It had a town at 17,000, and so I think then the state aid went up a little because that was reflected, and then it went. They made the correction.
Mr. Prisco.
So the increase you're looking, the 10 hours here, it's all in the clerical? Is that what we see in the needs column under clerical?
Yes,
Is that
it
what it
would
is?
all be in clerical. This is a clerical, right? It's a union position. It's
So the increase is $19,000 total from last year. So
For
that
the
includes
needs.
This $10,000 that you mentioned here?
plus. That's in addition to the level services. It's in addition.
10,000 from level services, 10,000 including the step.
Right, step and 2% increases for, yeah, it's, right, so it's that, right, additional
Compare
cost.
level services to needs.
Got it.
Yeah. And I did give you this sheet about the MAR, and the thing about the level funding is that it's below the MAR. It wouldn't meet the MAR. We might have to go for a waiver or lose certification, which I know we've talked about that. We talk about it every year that we come here.
Anyone have any questions regarding that?
In the past, have you failed to meet the MAR?
Knock on wood, we have not here.
Well, one year we didn't, but then we got a
Oh, right,
supplemental
right,
appropriation.
exactly.
We're able to withdraw our request for waiver.
That's, we almost, right, yeah, we didn't have to.
It's close, but we were able to get the supplemental.
Great.
Anyone else?
No sir.
FinCom?
I'm Helena, if you get your needs budget with the increased hours, then you're basically all set. Not that you wouldn't want more, but you're all set when we go over the budget.
No, this is a totally different thing.
No, we
That-
are increasing the hours.
You're not increasing the hours.
That's hours of operation, it has to increase it.
Oh, the hours of the one person. This is where it gets confusing. We're increasing one person's.
I realize that.
Yeah. We would not be increasing, under this,
This gets them over the MAR, but it doesn't address the 15,000 population issue.
that was a whole other PowerPoint we didn't bring. That would have taken a lot longer.
It's not part of this, it wasn't part of the budget.
Right, it was looking ahead.
Next year or an interim period.
Yes, thank you. I mean,
Just
yes,
keep in mind, in the process of increasing library open hours, it's multiple staff members that are there.
Right, we have to add more staff. Yeah, so that's a substantial increase.
But the fact that if you get the 10 additional hours for this person, that'll help.
No.
It won't, I'm not saying it's gonna keep the hours open, but that person, coupled with what we have to increase for that, will be able to help that stay open for a number of hours per year, per week.
You know what, the thing,
No,
there's
there's-
no connection between the
Separate
hours.
apart for the number of hours. They have to be open.
Somebody
hours
working
would-
during
within the
the
current
normal
operating
working hours.
hours of operation.
It would help
Therefore,
us
it's not enhancing anything.
improve our services as they are with these current hours, which is 45.
So in regards, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Prisco.
So in regards to the MAR, so this number up here, this 482. that number-
482 would be
Right, so that,
over, yeah.
that tells
That
us,
would be over.
that tells us we're safe, right?
The 450, the first one, which is identical with this year's 458.69.
Yeah.
692, would
So when
be
you get to
below.
state aid, though, the state aid number doesn't get contributed to that to meet the MAR if we had to in the future. Okay.
No, it does not.
Yep. Thanks.
If there's anything else, Mr. Valiakonis?
Administration looked at the recommended needs budget and supports the request for $482,122. Again, as we've discussed, the primary purpose of that is increasing the library technician 2 from 25 to 35 hours a week. Helena, in our budget talks, demonstrated the fact that there is an administrative burden that is resolved through this position really being increased in the number of hours. The person has skills and abilities to really assist both Helena and Judy in executing their duties, the necessary functions of the job, and we support and recommend the needs budget at $482,122.
Anything further? No? All set? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Valiakonis.
I just want to give it back.
Now we can go to recreation.
Now we don't have any money.
Thank you very much.
No.
Oh, this is going to take a while. Should we order breakfast?
Rita, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you? This is
Welcome.
Thank you. This is Rita Mullen, North Reading Recreation and Friends of Parks and Recreation. I just want to do our infomercial that the North Reading Parks and Recreation will have our 12th annual Spring Wine and Food Social on Friday, March 22nd from 7 to 10 at the Hillview Country Club. Tickets will be $40 per person, featuring top wines from around the world, fine cuisine tasting, 17 fine restaurants from neighboring cities. There'll be a raffle, silent auction, and we would love the public to help support this, as this supports many of the programs that we run in Parks and Recreation and helps to balance our budget. Any tickets needed, please call the Parks and Recreation office or any recreation member. Thank you for your time, and again, we look forward to another fun evening. Last year, we had about 280 people, and sometimes tickets have been actually shut down because we reached the maximum. So we would love to reach the maximum. Please call Parks and Recreation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's always a great event. It's March 22nd.
It's an election day.
It's, I think it's a big, I think it's an important day, big day in town.
I think people need to go for a
Celebratory
drink afterwards, right?
Ms. Stevens, thank you.
All right, well, my name is
Florida.
Maureen Stevens. I'm the Operations Director and Department Head of the Parks and Recreation Department. We run an enterprise subsidized budget with the Town of North Reading. We have a 7-person volunteer advisory committee, and we have a full-time Parks Director, a full-time Recreation Director, full-time Operations Director, part-time Secretary, a Programmer, and a full-time Parks DPW Equipment Operator, as well as we have another DPW Parks that's funded under the DPW.
We take care of primarily every park in town, which there are several. We all know Ipswich River Park is 49 acres, several soccer fields. A lot of the schools, Marty Tilton works in cooperation with the schools to take care of the needs that the leagues need. So we also run a full-time summer playground program, preschool programs, tennis lessons, barbecues, which we've just booked our barbecues for this year if everyone's looking for summer. It's definitely already booked and ready to go. So that's what we run in a nutshell, many programs, and take care of the parks. Our objectives for this year are the same. We want to offer quality program at family-friendly prices. We run events and we run trips. We want to have high-quality maintenance and upgrades for the parks and facilities, which we do on a yearly basis. We're going to continue to apply for grants and sponsorship opportunities. We always look to try to upgrade our field permit processing because we're so inundated with that request for permits for the parks and fields. So we're looking into that. And we're looking into maybe expanding the security cameras at Ipswich River Park. We want to expand them because last year we put some in. So we're looking to expand that a little bit to take care of some other areas. So our accomplishments last year, some of the highlights of it, where we upgraded the playground equipment at Clark Park at Martin's Pond. That was a collaborative effort with the Martin's Pond Association because they do fundraising as well. It was a capital project for us. The Parks Department did install security cameras at Ipswich River Park to help deter the vandalism. We think it's working. We're not seeing as many break-ins into the concession stand. So we believe it is working. I think the kids can see that the security cameras are there and catching activities. We always coordinate with the high school and take care of the high school sports and getting them onto the fields where they need to be in the turf field. We just recently, as of today, got their schedule so we can get the turf field all scheduled and ready to go. Matter of fact, tomorrow night, you'll see it already rented and ready to go. We host things as youth sports. We host the Cancer Relay for Life at the turf field, youth football Super Bowl, Black Friday Bowls, numerous other activities there. We're going to run, like I said, the summer concert series. We run our wine and food, many events for the recreation. And we have our recreation online opportunity so they can sign up for things online. And we just started a payment on the go. So if somebody wanted to buy a ticket tonight, we could swipe your card right here. So we just started that. That was just a few weeks back. So we're trying to stay up with technology.
Let's do that. I'll buy 2 right now.
Yeah. So.
Can make us all.
Delay a game.
Yeah, really. So we
continue. I will do it.
We have a Facebook account, which, you know, we have at the time of this writing, it had 369 likes and counting. We just set up a Twitter account, and these are all to give everybody updates as what we're doing, when we're doing it, and on-the-spot updates. We also have a Friends of, as like the library does, and we work with them with grants and take care of opportunities to apply for funding under a 501c3. Sometimes you just have to have that to get some certain grant opportunities. So we take care of you know, our staff. We have a lot of visits to the park. We have a lot of visits to the office. So we're a busy, dynamic department. We're always busy planning all winter long for things that are coming up in the summer. And our request for this year is for the town to subsidize us in the need of $130,808, which is basically the Parks Director's salary and the Operations Director's salary, those 2 salaries. Other than that, we try to bring in enough revenues to take care of what we need to do. We are finding it difficult as well with revenues because the league revenues are down. So we have to kind of shift our revenues to accommodate the depletion in the revenues in that area. We're seeing a little bit of a downturn. The numbers at the school are down, about 215 children over 2008, but we're down from 2008 in regard to league
registrants, 354, which for us, that's $16,000. It's a lot of money. And we have, in order to self-support everything else other than those two salaries, it gets a little tough, and we have to make some cuts. So we may have to, we're going to be cutting some seasonal personnel to address some revenue reductions, and we're not looking to upgrade any equipment this year under our own capital, and we may need to pull from some of our retained earnings to take care of some needs. So we're looking at all efficiencies when it comes to phones and electricity and heat and what have you. So we're, we're struggling to hit the mark when it comes to revenues. I mean, the turf field as of tomorrow will be rented and the lights will be lit. So people want to start, no matter how cold it is, playing soccer. So they're willing to rent it, they're willing to come. So you'll see that busy probably all week. So that's what we shift when the league revenues are down. We try to utilize where they're not using the fields and rent those fields out. And it's the same as the pavilion is a big draw for people to do corporate outings and things like that. So, have any questions in regard to specifics?
Mr. Prisco.
Sure.
So that's $16,000. Talk about you're cutting staff, and that was seasonal staff, you said?
Yes.
So that is some of our local youth,
Could be
right?
some of the local
Some of
youth.
the high school kids and college kids that come back?
Yes. So we have to make some small, they're small. The Parks Department and the Recreation Department elevate our staff. We get to be about 25 staff in the matter of those spring, summer months. And we just did the best to just cut one in half, and we had to cut 3 positions, so.
You cut them because you can't afford them. You didn't cut them because you didn't need them, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to kind of work things a little bit more efficiently. We wish we could keep them, but we definitely have to find revenue, some revenues, and cutting expenses is a way to do it. So, we can work the programs without those positions. It just would make for a better program to have them.
Mr. Massey.
Would you clarify, you said the number of youth at the schools are down. You're talking about population or
Historic
cost
figures.
of participation?
The school population. Elementary, because that's generally who our populace
Okay,
is.
so elementary is down, and
Right. From 2008, it's down 215 students. And those, in turn, are our customers, as well as, but for the youth leagues, we're down 354 registrants, so to speak, at $45 a head. And that can be due to the 215 that are not there anymore, as well as parents picking one sport rather than 2, and things of that nature. So, and we're finding that when we ask those questions, the parents say, I can't have Johnny in baseball and spring soccer. They have to pick one. Or they now have 3 children, or what have you, so they make choices. And it could be cost prohibitive because the economy and these league fees and fees might be a little cost prohibitive, although, they're a good value.
I have one more question. The turf field. What kind of revenue are we able to sustain from that?
It's hard to try, like, I have the month of March to try to grab some money out of that before the high school will start, and then I have youth leagues that come in. The high school uses it from after school till 6 o'clock, and they have some night games, so that's why we get their schedule, and we pop those into the schedule. And then youth leagues are in there, like lacrosse will be in there, and they're generally in there 5 nights a week. So it leaves me limited time, because even the weekends, they play. Youth lacrosse plays on Sunday, and they play all day. They have it from 8 to 6. So I try to find pockets of rental time if I can. So for instance, I have rented it out this week because nobody's practicing yet, and youth lacrosse isn't going to practice till the beginning of April on any field. So I have people who want to play soccer there. They don't care how cold it is. As long as there isn't snow on it, they're willing to go on it.
So what we generally do is we bring in $100 to $150 an hour for the field. So $100 for North Reading resident type of team, $150 if they're an out-of-town team, like a Boston team or something that may want to rent from us. And then they get $50 an hour, we get $50 an hour for the lights. So, and they'll need the lights. So, and we bring in money like that. In the summertime is another opportunity. I already have several requests to do it. So these people are starting to add more requests, and what can happen is I lose out on a rental when I can't accommodate the whole request. And that's what I try to do, is to accommodate the whole request. But if I can't do it, then I might lose the whole rental, because they need like the whole string of all Wednesdays or something like that. So it makes it very difficult, but we try to do what we can.
Mr. Fode.
I have a quick question. On the line item detail, you say that the request is for $130,808, that's a decrease of $20,700?
Right, last year, well, the year we're in, fiscal year 13, basically we have, let's see, let me get my little paper, here it is. The salary for fiscal year 13 for the operations director and the parks director is $128,942, and then we asked for an additional subsidy of $22,583 under an other subsidy. So it's a decrease from last year, of which 128 of that is salary and 22 is the other subsidy we requested to help us with the problem we had at the end of fiscal year 12, where we weren't able to get to town meeting and get our request in.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, but we have opportunity, that money will be utilized. We're going to repair the tennis courts at Ipswich River Park with that, as well as the $10,000 is going to help us with some benefits that we have to pay employees. So we don't need the subsidy, again this year. We're just looking for those two line items of the salaries. No other subsidies.
Mr. Messeri.
Was there any retained earnings at the end of fiscal 2013? I mean 12?
No.
No.
No. Sure.
If I could, too, one of the things on the turf field, when you brought it up, Parks and Recreation doesn't always realize any extra money that comes in. We maintain the field and take care of it, but we've been fortunate because we have it, that, for instance, youth football was able to host the football tournaments at the end of the year. Super Bowl. The high school was able to host the Caltrack. So a lot of the different groups, the band is looking to hopefully have, what's the band? Band.
Yeah, they have a tournament.
Tournament.
Yeah.
Cheerleading's hoping to have one of those things. So the good part for the other leagues and for the school, they were able to run events that will make them money. And Parks and Rec, again, pays for the turf one, the turf and the taking care of it and the maintenance, but other people are able to realize it. So all the time, the profit doesn't necessarily come to recreation, but it does help the community at large because everybody gets to use it. Yes, like the I money agree. just not realized.
Yeah, we take the opportunity when we can to make profits from it, but, the high school does have priority use on it, and they, I'm glad that they have it.
You didn't realize any retained earnings from last year, but you do have retained earnings, though, correct?
We do.
Okay. What's that amount? Do we know?
83.
They received for FY12 83,116.
No, I'm confused.
They didn't have any retained earnings from last year, but they had, right?
Right, we had that.
Do I understand that?
Revolving fund.
Right, the revolving fund, when we went to enterprise, we had a revolving fund, and that becomes a retained earning once it's certified.
Which it was.
Which it did, at 83.
Okay, so there is retained earnings.
There is,
They
it
didn't
wasn't.
realize any from last year.
Yeah, we didn't realize any gain, I should say,
So,
yeah.
my question was there any at the end of the
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, there was, right. We do have a balance.
So there's a cushion in case
Yes.
something.
Right, emergencies
No, it's not.
arise.
Mrs. Bailey.
I just had a question about the rental fees for the turf field.
Sure.
Have you surveyed other similar facilities? And
Yes, we
you charge
have.
our fees, especially for out-of-towners or in
Yeah,
line?
it's right in line. Same thing with the lighting fee is actually based by Reading Light. You call them,
they go over the kilowatt hours, they tell you how much that's stadium lighting, so that was all determined. So that's, and it's generally what everyone charges, for the most part, $50 an hour for the stadium, but that's a cost. If it goes on, it's a cost to us. Our light bill can be $1,000 a month for the stadium lighting, so once it goes on, we need to get the revenue to keep it paid. So we generally do. People have it on, they have it on for 3 hours, it's $150 right there, so that's one night.
You're net zero for, if you turn it on for 3 hours for an out-of-town group, are you?
There might be a small profit, yes. I mean, there's a little room in there, but for the most part, it's considered, you know,
The
a
rate
wash.
covers the cost.
But is that
Right.
consistent with other communities are doing?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Anything else, board members? Finance Committee? Hearing nothing. Mr. Valiakonis.
The recommendation is for a total budget of $534,072, which is broken down $372,322 for salaries, $161,750 for expenses, and indirect costs, which have increased to $13,437. What we're doing is we're back charging the enterprise fund for the cost of employee benefits and time involved through finance and administration. The amount is consistent in what we consider to be fairly modest for a budget of this size.
And is that factored into your budget?
No, I don't know what the recommendations were. That kind of jumped off the page off for me.
Yep, $13,437.
Oh, the benefit pack, the 8?
Correct.
It was increased, remember we increased the October town meeting to the 13,437?
Mr. Dillon? Waiting, can I? Yeah. Mention something to the board? Or you want to wait?
Let's wait.
All right.
Is it related to
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
So-
Just had to see it.
See it to believe it?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So many numbers going on in my head.
I
So,
understand.
right, it's for the benefits, right? It's the indirect costs for the benefits and what have you, right?
That's what it is.
And it is, you have it
Yep,
factored in.
Yep.
I didn't want you to leave here and realize that there was an
Right,
issue with
right.
your budget, and you need more.
Nope, that works.
All right.
So
All right, any other
So you have
questions?
enough in your budget to cover that?
We do. Like I said, we made some cuts. We struggled and had a budget marathon night and worked it through. We hope to do better than our projections are, that, you know, as our revenues are projected, as well as our expenses are projected. We always try to decrease the expenses and increase the revenues. We're very conservative and make sure that, you know, we can hit these marks, so we put together a conservative. We're hoping that the leagues come in a little bit better, and that our rentals come in better.
How do you, what's the check and balance with the leagues in terms of making sure their number's accurate in terms of how many participants they have enrolled in their programs? No, I'm not suggesting that any particular program or programs may be not being completely honest, but.
Yeah, they're audited.
They're audited and checked. For insurance purposes, they have to report on participants.
Okay.
Are in there.
I'm sure their numbers have dropped, but
They
just.
all have across the board, all the youth sports we have, so, you know, you see it's from a 20% decrease across the
That
board.
much?
Yeah.
So we have to, you know, our league fee, we want to keep the same because we saw that when we increased it, we saw a drop.
Right.
We don't want to have that same,
Yep.
we're just back against saying, oh, our fee is so high, yet we didn't gain anything from it anyway. So we want to be very friendly about keeping it the same and work with the leagues to see what we can do to come up with some other income. So and we're pretty savvy about trying to do that, so that's what we'll do. So, any other questions, Mike?
Mr. Prisco.
Yeah, I think we should have just a small conversation about the seasonal staff, because obviously you're making the cuts in that area because you don't have the projected revenue coming in. But in the end, who gets hurt? And it's the young people in this town that rely on those jobs when they come back from the summer, from colleges, and some of the newly high school seniors that are getting out that like those jobs. I think it's a good experience for them. It's great for their resume as they're applying for colleges. and you look at this level of service they provide the town, I think we should have some consideration about maybe increasing from the operating budget, just maybe help subsidize some of that. I mean, they're trying their best for revenues, but they're not quite getting there. But if you look at the level of service, the town is getting a highly level service.
I don't necessarily disagree. However, because they are an enterprise fund, how would that work, Ms. Finance Director?
We'd have to
We're
ask
doing it
them
now.
about
Increase the
subsidy.
Yeah, that's what I was.
You're
That's
doing
what I was
it
saying,
now?
We could do it.
20,000.
The problem with the subsidy and being an enterprise fund is that even DOR said when we were doing the balance sheet this year and the recap, the amount of the subsidy, they look for them to be self-sustaining. So, you know, we could get a bad mark from DOR for increasing the subsidy.
What does that
It's
mean?
supposed to be decreasing.
Okay, so what does that
So-
mean, a bad mark from DOR, though?
They could take longer to certify our tax rate. They could take longer to certify free cash, you know, until we came up with a good explanation that was acceptable to them.
Just a
But we're allowed to pay the salaries of those two positions?
Well, they don't want us to do that.
Right. They don't want us to give any subsidy.
Okay.
But where it's only the second year, they're hoping that it will be reduced over time.
You know,
But
I
Liz, since the
think
number
that-
originally was, don't,
Last year was a special year.
Special year, for sure.
You can't compare last year to,
right, but as far as DOR is concerned, we're subsidizing them by $152,000 for fiscal year 13.
correct. And they did not see that at time of free cash certification. They saw that at tax rate certification, and, you know, I was questioned several times about it, so. And that we pay the indirect costs from that and different things. So they weren't very happy about it. So this year at free cash certification time, retained earnings certification time, they'll see the increase. Where it happened at October town meeting, the increase, they only saw it at recap time.
Mr. Barry?
You know, we're not hiding the fact that there's a subsidy. I think we've been pretty upfront with everyone that the recreation program is important to us. We want to be able to support it. We're, you know, the alternative is we include it in the enterprise fund, and at the end of the year, the enterprise fund runs a deficit, and guess what? At the end of the year, the general fund covers the deficit. That's kind of a backwards way of doing it. What we want to do is be upfront and say, these are what our costs are.
Right.
This is what we can afford, and this town has considered its recreation program to be outstanding, and we want to recognize the fact that we want to continue that.
Mr. Messeri?
Yeah, I can understand where Mike is coming from, but at the same time, we have fewer kids in the program. So the way I would look at it is fewer kids means we don't need as many resources.
It's very similar to a decrease in the school population. You may have a few
Yeah,
here and there, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can eliminate a teacher. I think it's.
You're still operating the facilities.
Right, you still have to
You still
take
have
care.
to maintain the facilities, you still have the inherent costs.
We did cut a parks personnel, and, I mean, we wouldn't have gone enterprise unless, you know, if we weren't
had to.
stuck. You know, we'd
Right.
still be a revolving account, and we'd just be going about our business doing that, but, you know, we had to do it this way, so we work within it.
Sure. Can I also- Yeah, the sad part is when we went 4 or 5 years ago, and we had to take the cut in recreation for our recreation director, since then, we've picked up the insurances and all the other ancillary costs that go along with it, and although the 200 and some odd members might not be in the leagues that are paying us the $45 user fee, we had to, Lynn Clemens, our recreation director, had to add a lot more programs with the same amount of people, and now less, to make more money to try to balance that. So ever since that happened, we're working harder to pay for those other costs that we didn't pay for before, and the salary, and some of the salary of the children that we had to cut that are running the program. So Michael, you are right on that those kids are getting cut because we're trying to balance everything that we have, even though we're running more programs.
Yeah, we were cut back in '09, $102,000. It was 2 positions, and then we had to pick up the health insurance and the Medicare costs that, you know, so it was a tough cut, and we all know that.
It was almost like we were penalized when we had to take the enterprise because we were raising so much money to do everything and keep the programs going and take care of the fields and do a better job on them. Then you have to go to an enterprise fund. It's not like the Hillview that you've got X amount of golfers coming in, that you can just charge them whatever you want to try to make more money to balance your
You
budget.
need bigger facilities in order to bring in bigger money.
We'd like to talk to that dealer on
I know, the state's tough, we know.
Is this,
Come on.
well, I mean, does anyone want to propose something? I mean,
I do.
I think I agree, but I think there's a problem. Liz is saying there's a problem. I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't know how much money you're talking about cutting from.
16,000 is the number I heard. Is that correct?
from the summer.
That's, the leagues are down, yeah, it's
Yeah, so
16,000, yeah.
I'm not saying we should
Still add
necessarily
up
have
to
to give them all
less than last
16.
year's subsidy total.
If you were given that additional 16,000, do you put your staff level back to where it was?
Absolutely. That's exactly
It's not me, I don't set the rules. So it's just, they're in a hard place because they had to migrate away from the revolving fund and go to the enterprise fund. And the enterprise fund has certain stipulations on how it should be run. So it's a hard thing.
Well, if you're gonna get dinged, you may as well get dinged.
Right. Bingo.
Exactly.
Right.
Let's get
Look at
bingo.
the whole subsidy, we're actually gonna be looking for less.
Right. It still is,
4,000
it still is
Look at
less.
that.
But that's not the way DOR.
I know that.
I understand that, but I do agree, we are giving them a subsidy, so is the difference going to be 130 or
It's
is
the
it
amount.
146?
They just want us to have a plan in place at some point in time.
Yeah, when the economy recovers and more kids jump into programs, we'll be all set, so that's our
Right.
plan.
Build a community center,
Community center, thank you.
I'm good for that. And then we would have everyday, yeah, opportunities.
We have problems with
Yeah, go to
buildings
the
right
one
now.
with
Let's just focus on one.
Building a community center.
I don't know, which is cheaper.
But no, I understand what you,
I just, it's something we should probably consider as far as the whole package of
Right.
things. I mean, I'm not saying I'm in favor or opposed to it right now as far as adding them back in. But, we have a whole set of other priorities budgetarily that we have to consider. This should be on the list of potential
Well, we've done it-
add-backs as we,
right.
What we've done in the past on the add-ins to the budget that the board has put in, we've kept track of them. And then when we go through the final budget process, we're looking at our actual available revenue. We'll make that hard decision.
And we'll
make
come
the
back.
decision where that
Absolutely.
money will come from.
Then we'll come back.
So we're open to it.
We're open. So, let's not close the door on it, and
Okay.
we'll leave this one in.
so, as far as a bottom line recommendation that we're talking about, you need another column?
An add back?
An add-back column? I mean,
No, I've been keeping
someone's got to
notes.
track it. I
Actually, you don't have to
Liz
do an
is
add back
tracking it,
column, right? You could do another row.
Liz and I, we will keep track of all of your potential add-backs and have it summarized on one single sheet rather than flipping through every
Okay.
single
Perfect.
budget.
Great.
Perfect.
I like that.
That way, everything will be
Yeah.
summarized on one sheet.
It's good.
Any input from FinCom regarding that particular issue?
I'm more fiscally conservative than you guys. I would have shut up and taken the recommendation.
No.
Abby?
We have a
you think you wanna
community to
say
think
something?
about.
Go ahead, say it. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you.
I will do this. And we're going to bring Mr. Hemi up, who hustled back from a flight in from
I don't have
down
to-
south someplace, probably a lot warmer than here.
It wasn't.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's even worse.
Exactly.
Hillview, page 4, right?
Page 4.
I'll bring it back.
$40 each. Sammy, thank you for joining us.
No.
Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Hope you were down seeing your son.
No, I was
No?
actually down
Working?
in Tampa where it was 42
Oh,
degrees.
okay.
And
That's about the same as here today.
And 25-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, my
Not
goodness.
at all.
That's just wrong.
My name is Peter Hemi. I'm here representing the Hillview Commission. I am the treasurer of the Hillview Commission. When I was here a year ago, I spoke about the desperate times in the golf industry. They have somewhat improved, mainly due to the fact that we have experienced nice weather. Despite the fact that we now have all this snow last year was pretty good for the Hillview Commission from a revenue standpoint. We actually had people playing golf in December and also in March, which was great. It doesn't look like we're going to be as lucky this year.
Keep your
but,
fingers
you know,
crossed.
We'll see. With the, as a result of the incremental revenue last year, we were able to do a few things that needed to be done. We did replace and work on the 7th fairway and greens, which needed a lot of work. We were able to replace equipment to maintain the golf course that was 15 to 20 years old and continued to break down. So we are continuing to invest in the asset to continue to drive the revenue. So we have submitted the fiscal 2014 budget. The budget is essentially flat with last year. We did have some increases on some of the line items. We had to go out to bid for our management company that runs the golf course. There was some incremental dollars associated with that, but we were able to offset that in a few other line items. So overall, the budget is basically flat from a spending standpoint. Again, we are, a victim of the weather. If the weather doesn't cooperate and our revenue is down, we will manage our expenses down in order to make sure that we are a self-sustaining entity. We also put out to bid this year the new facility, the banquet facility, and Pat Lee has taken over recently as January 1st, which we're very excited about. We're in the process of making some minor modifications to the facility that needed to be done per the Board of Health. Those are about to be completed. So if there's, happy to answer any questions or.
Mr. Messeri.
So you, GFMI is again the.
GFMI again is signed a new
and that's
contract.
a 3-year contract?
Yeah.
Is there an option?
The increases in here are related to the contract?
Contract, correct.
Okay.
Mr. Prisco.
Pete?
Yeah.
What's the deal with fuel? Why such a massive reduction?
Fuel, we actually charge fuel back to various people. The budget was overstated in previous years is really what happened.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I guess I didn't realize the Hillview Commission actually leases the carts. I would have thought that would have been part of GMFI.
No, because we actually generate revenue.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
look
so you
at
get the revenue for every time it's.
We get the
Okay.
revenue and we get the
All right,
cost associated with it, correct.
It's good money in it.
Yeah, it's very good money.
Now it makes sense.
There was a period of time when we bought the carts.
Right.
And other times
Yeah.
we've leased them.
Yeah, I mean, in today's day and age, it used to be most of the golf courses would buy carts. Today, you need to lease them because every 3 years you need to.
No,
turn
that
them
I
over.
understand. I just thought.
But we are getting the revenue, yes.
You're getting the revenue from it. That's why Hillview's
Absolutely.
paying for the leasing of those. Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Now I get it. Okay. Questions are being asked regarding the pub associated
Sure.
with the banquet facility.
Yep.
What, is there a game plan mapped out for that? And if so, can you tell me?
Okay, so we are, there is no definite game plan for the current banquet and pub facility. We are in discussions as a board, trying to figure out strategically what makes the most sense. That building is rather old, has some challenges. We've been putting a lot of Band-Aids on it. We have done some additional renovations to the pub. I think, when it does open up, I think people will be very impressed. We spent, very short money doing a lot of cosmetic changes that really make it a much nicer place to go in.
So there is a plan for it to be open some portion of this golf season?
There will be a
Pub.
plan to open for some portion of the golf season, correct. It will not be open as a dinner or a breakfast facility, but we are encouraging the owner, or Pat, to open it up during the golf season.
So this is just going to be for the private, for groups? to utilize
No,
the pub?
we're also talking to him, we want to try to have it open for the golf season. So if golfers are there, be able to come in and have a beer or have a sandwich or something. We're discussing what the best use is.
Okay.
Again, if you look at the history of the pub and the banquet facility, it really was not making money. It was losing money. And we can't ask the person running it to lose money.
I agree, but I think it is a good idea to have it open for.
If it makes sense financially and he can generate profits, I'm pretty sure that it'll be open.
Yeah, I just think, Bob can verify, is that part of the historical problem with that pump facility was the lack of attention or interest in the previous person.
Sure.
To generate it, because I just think personally it's a natural.
And when you see there's new carpeting going down, there's new paint, there's actually been remodeled, it's actually incredible what has been done for a very little amount of money put into it. Yeah. We're sort of excited.
Two of the major hurdles over all the years with that has been the kitchen down there.
Mm-hmm.
Need to be major upgrade.
Yep.
And the bathrooms are.
Right. So the bathrooms, in the old locker room area are being closed off. We have done a little bit of work on the bathrooms that are over by that small banquet facility. So those are the bathrooms that are going to be used. So there is some work that has been done there.
Let me just see.
When do you plan on having that finalized as to what the operation is going to be at the pub? Any timeline? And again, only reason people are inquiring.
Sure. We certainly will be addressing it before the golf season opens. Yeah, I would say the next month or so we'll come to it.
And I do see that you're budgeting $125,000 for payment in lieu of taxes.
Correct. As of right now, our intention is to pay that.
Any other questions, board members?
No, just, again, significant decrease in revenue in relation to the facility rental, and that's for the foreseeable future? I forget what the contract is.
Yeah, the rental, when we put it out to bid, the rental amounts that came in were much lower than the current facility guy was paying. So we are, unfortunately, in that situation.
Yeah, $65,000.
Correct. And there's been a small modification to that in reference to some of the work he's done to the facility.
Modification?
Downstairs.
But, I mean...
Down.
Down.
Down. We've reduced his rent a small amount so that he can do some of the leasehold improvements himself.
Okay.
And you guys saved the old telephone booth, right?
We saved the old telephone booth. It's in the storage someplace if anybody would like to.
That's funny.
Sure, it's worth something.
Put it next to the witch.
Yeah.
Wouldn't, isn't it?
Finance committee?
I'm glad to see the treasurer just moving forward. I think we've had a number of facilities in town that brings us downtime, which affects the community in a lot of different ways, but it looks like you're on a roll.
Oh, you got the thumbs up.
PS first one tonight.
It's not easy.
It's good.
We're trying.
From you, that's just, it's like getting a Hallmark card.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, the golf facility is, for those who haven't played it in a while, is greatly improved. The golf course, we've gotten a lot of very good comments back. We bought some, equipment rollers that have made the greens very nice. We've had our fair share of vandalism, like Ipswich River Park. We've had fences that continue to be broken, knocked down, and mostly kids. So.
But for the amount of use that course gets, it's maintained exceptionally well.
The GFMI guys do a phenomenal job. They're great partners. They do a lot of the work themselves, so they don't have to sub it out, which really helps. They have a maintenance staff. We need to continue to invest. We need to continue to invest in a golf course because it generates a lot of revenue, obviously. So we will continue to do that.
Excellent.
We're hosting functions today. There is, the ballroom is hosting function, there are weddings booked, there are other facilities. What's going on right now is the pub area is being renovated, so.
Mr. Messere?
I just want to comment that, thanks to the efforts of the Hillview Commission and the people that they've hired to run the facility, through the years, the revenue stream, first of all, hasn't cost the town any money. And in addition, it's increased the assets of the town, every year. Money has been put back into fiscal assets. It hasn't, not much money has gone into doing anything but that. Whether it's the parking lot or the keeping the golf course up, the renovations to the function hall, the turf field, Ipswich River Park. Those are all assets to the town that have been paid for by the revenue stream of the Hillview. And I think the Hillview Commission members should be commended for their efforts.
Pete, just one other thing, in relation
Sure.
to debt service fluctuations, ticking down?
The debt service is ticking down. We have some things that are
I noticed
coming.
our surplus is ticking down a little this year, but
Well, we have some things that are coming off,
Right.
in 2013. Our philosophy, and we will continue to do this, is to keep, our surplus enough to cover our debt service for the following year. That may tick up a little bit because, as we talked about, we're looking at strategic alternatives for the facility. The facility, the banquet facility and the pub has been neglected for many years. And over the next few years, we need to do something, because that, again, is an asset for the town. So we're talking to a lot of different people and trying to figure out what is the best use and how we can best, for bang for the buck, renovate that facility. So that's what we're in the process of doing today.
but the debt service, again, it appears as though it's going to start to become available.
It will come available over the next couple of years. It ticks down slightly over the next couple of years. In about 2 years or so, it takes another big drop.
In terms of debt service and the line item LUC, is that just for turf field, or
No.
are there other components?
No,
What
there's
else
other,
is in
there's
there?
other, there's a lot of the Wheeler property.
Okay.
There's a
Yep.
whole bunch of other things
Very
that
good.
continue to come off over time.
Mr. Valiakonis?
Recommend the budget as proposed.
Very good.
Thank you,
Pete?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming
Seeing
in.
you.
Welcome home.
Now you can warm up.
I'm sure it's quiet over here, forget how it used to be.
It's actually not bad, time-wise.
No, considering.
Yeah.
All right, if we could, anyone have a public comment before everyone leaves? All right, moving on. I'm sorry? Who said that? Time to go.
Oh, you mean.
All right. Good night, Marcy. We go back to item 3, the minutes, February 11, 2013, regular and executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the February 11, 2013 regular session minutes as written.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments?
Item number 8, I believe that I made the motion, not Mr. Prisco.
I'd debate him on it. I'd get the video out and check that.
What's that? What he said?
What's that? No.
I don't know, I didn't hear what he said, so I can't
No,
tell.
I'm telling you.
No,
Right.
what he's saying is he made the motion instead of.
I made the motion instead of.
I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Well,
No,
I
didn't
remember
hear
because I
what you-
was,
Because he had to
it was a
read it.
long motion,
He had to read
and
it
I was out of breath when I was done.
Okay, so,
Move to approve as amended.
And
as amended?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Executive session? My eyes are bad. You don't mind, Michael, please?
Lights.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the February 11th, 2013 executive session minutes as written.
Second. Motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Legal bills for January 2013.
Recommend approval in the amount of $5,392.10. I will provide the board with a summary year-to-date of all of our legal costs broken down by department. I received the request, and I'll have that information for you by the end of the week.
Have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve legal bills for January 2013 in the amount of $5,392.10 as follows. Copeland and Page General, $4,546.10. Copeland and Page Labor, $396. And American Arbitration Association, $450.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Administrators Report.
Some good news. We did receive a legal opinion from the Department of Revenue on the $5 million bond premium, which was part of the high school bonding for the project. And as you know, the town had wished to use those monies at a future date toward the project costs so that we wouldn't have to do an additional $5 million borrowing. And DOR agrees with that recommendation and put together a much more lengthy legal advisory to think that it's necessary. But what they wanted to do is rule not just on North Reading, they wanted to issue something that applies across the state. So if you do go through it, you'll note that there's a similar situation that they describe involving, I believe it's a DPW facility, and that's our exact situation. So we will be able to use that. Town meeting will need to vote it at a future date, not right now, obviously, but at a future date, we'll be able to utilize it toward the project costs.
So that we're clear, the town authorized a borrowing up to $60 million. We borrowed 50, so out of that 60, we only have to borrow an additional 5. Correct?
That's right.
Thank you. That was good news.
It is good news. It took a while. The board had asked at its last meeting about the water commissioners coming in and making a recommendation on the water rate and capital plan. I did have an opportunity to speak with the DPW. They are going back and requesting a meeting of the water commissioners, and I'd expect that there'll be a written recommendation that'll be before the board during the month of April concerning the water rate. So it'll be subject to your review and approval. And as you know, as part of that process is the annual anticipated amount that we see as a surplus, and allocating that surplus back toward the town's water infrastructure stabilization fund. At your meeting next week, which is scheduled to begin at 6 o'clock, the board, we will also combine your 6 o'clock session with the warrant article information hearing. So it is advertised, you'll see it in the newspaper. And what we typically do is, rather than having 2 separate sessions, we'll roll it all into the 6 o'clock session, which will be held jointly with the members of the school committee. The 2012...
Just a comment, Craig.
Yes, Bob.
I know we meet kind of regularly at 6 o'clock, but this is a informational hearing on the warrant. 6 o'clock is kind of early maybe for a lot of people.
We're meeting at 6
because
it's a joint meeting with the school committee.
Yeah, they
Right.
meet the same night and time as we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're really stuck. It's the fact that the school committee meeting that is.
But we don't have to deal with the warrant article and the public hearing on that. Well, you already set it for what time?
6.
Well, that's the advertised.
Well, again, the reason why is there's no sense in having to go through the same process at 6 and at 7. If you can combine it into one. We also have 10 departmental budgets that are coming up for hearings. So I would suggest that we try to keep everything as in the front of the warrant as possible, if you'd allow it.
Okay.
The Mr. Hingston, our auditor, has informed me that the fiscal 2012 financial and management audits are complete. I'll be meeting with him this week to review both of the reports. As I understand, there are no major issues. However, he does want to come in and present his report publicly to the board and respond to any questions that you may have about it. So as soon as that report is final, it'll be transmitted to the board well in advance of a meeting. It'll give you an opportunity to review it and meet with Mr. Hingston so that he can present it to you at a public meeting. And then the only other item that I have is just an update on the RFP, which has been issued for curbside solid waste and recycling collection. As you know, we have a contract that will be expiring at the end of June, and so we've gone ahead and done a procurement. The list has been narrowed down to 3 finalists. Interviews with those firms are scheduled for this week. The town advertised for a 5-year contract, so the 5-year contract will be run until June of 2018. What we've done is we've asked all of the proposers to come forward what they consider to be their best price. But as we know, in terms of trash collection, there are many different ways to get to your best price. Some of the firms propose doing trash collection on 1 day, as we have it at the present. Others propose doing it over a period of 5 days. So that's part of the evaluation interview process that we'll be looking at in terms of what is most favorable for the community. We're not at the point of finalizing. I'm not at the point of making final decisions, and no final decisions will be made, obviously, to come back and consult with the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just explain something to me, Greg. The trash collection has got nothing to do with the tipping.
Correct.
The contract we have for that runs...
Separate contract, that's with Covanta.
Yeah.
So that's a...
That was renewed recently. I mean, not yesterday, but a few years ago, right?
A couple of years ago. I'm trying to think if it was renewed, I believe, while Dave Hanlon was still here.
Just about the time he was leaving,
Yeah.
I think. How long is that contract?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Old and new business? Mr. Prisco?
I guess all I can say is, how about those Hornets, huh?
Good.
Pretty good. Congratulations to the boys varsity basketball team. I wish them best of luck on Wednesday night. I only have one thing tonight. I just want to let the board know that the Taxation Aid Committee, we met early this week and we reviewed all the applications we have received, and we'd received 12. Only 6 out of the 12 were really eligible for review. The others were just, they didn't have any information or very little information. We tried to go back and ask for additional, never got it, so we went with the 6 we had. We reviewed, and I'm happy to say that out of the 6, we were able to we're going to at least provide some feedback to 2 of them to give them some additional help in other areas, but not from the Taxation Aid Fund. And then there were 2 that we are actually going to grant some relief to. Rather than get into the detail, what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is ask an opportunity when the time is right, when we get past the budgets, for my committee and I to come in and just give you just a quick overview of what we did, what we received, and what we granted.
Sure.
But
Thank you.
I want to thank the public. We did receive some donations, and I would like them to, the public to please continue to, if you can afford to do it, even if it's in the form of $5, whatever it is, to contribute to us, the Taxation Aid Fund. It really has gone a long way, and I'm looking forward to presenting more in detail at a later date.
Thank you. Mr. Messere.
Just 2 items on the capital planning. We've now reviewed all of the capital plan, and I did put a scanned copy of that in Dropbox. I mean, that's just the information. Our next step is to rank. Now we've got reviewed it with all the department heads to rank the capital needs based on our findings. And I think then that goes to Greg, who then makes a recommendation to the board. So we'll begin that at our next meeting. We also had a wastewater meeting. Joe and Mike were there, and that is moving along. As part of the capital plan, we're waiting to get some numbers from that. And I think we have an estimate of what those numbers are, and they're just an estimate at this point in time. So that is more or less on the schedule that we had planned. I did have one question relating, this is something that you and I would be involved with, is along with the fire chief, that's to have a review of the ALS in preparation for the budget. Is there a plan to do that during the
Saturday's budget
Saturday
session?
morning?
He'll address ALS.
He will.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know how we
absolutely.
could do the budgets without.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I'm interested in trying to get a better handle on what the revenue has been and
Expenses going on.
We'll get you an update, I'll get you an update on the revenue for that meeting.
that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. O'Leary?
Just again, want to echo the congratulations to the basketball team and wish them well in their tournament efforts here. They're phenomenal, undefeated so far. And again, the hockey team had a great season. Came to a sudden close in overtime and played great. So congratulations to all the winter sports at North Reading High School. Great to be on it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fode?
All my esteemed colleagues said everything that needed to be said, other than happy birthday, Mr. Chairman. Was that 50?
Quickly approaching it, but I'm not there yet.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Brown nose.
Is that it? That was great. Appreciate that.
Was there anything needed for anything else? Want to make sure I
No,
get to the
that's
table?
all. That's all. What I have is just
I would have baked him a cake. You know?
I'd like to see that.
Good.
All I have is an update on the school building project, most important issue that we're faced with right now. For those that were not able to attend or view the informational session that was held last Thursday evening, I just want to highlight the issues that were put forward that evening. On Tuesday of last week, the architect and the CM at risk presented to us their unreconciled estimates. Based on those unreconciled estimates, the estimate of the additional funds that the town would have to seek from the taxpayers is in the range of $13 to $16 million. The impact on the average home value of $450,000 breaks down to an additional increase between $155 to $190 a year. To sort of simplify that, and if your home value is in $450,000, the way you can calculate it for your own home value is that's in a range of an additional $34 to $42 per $100,000 of value. If this additional request is not passed at either town meeting or at special election, if it gets approved at town meeting, just want to give the community some of the additional items that are under consideration to be eliminated from this project. The brick building facade could be concrete block. The fixed auditorium seating is under consideration to be eliminated. The sports fields will be eliminated, meaning the high school will be, the old high school will be demolished. The fields will be capped and seeded, and there'll be grass down there. Also under consideration is the elimination of gymnasium bleachers. The cooling that's currently planned in the HVAC system in the new buildings will be considered to be eliminated. The top coat for paving for the parking, the driveway areas is under consideration to be eliminated. As you can see by this list, that's a partial list and not a complete list. This is not the building that the building committee had proposed to this community over a year ago. So if the funding request, the additional funding request is not approved, you can see how drastic and how different these buildings will be if in fact the project is able to be continued. And what I mean by that is, in my personal opinion, I believe the MSBA is going to take a hard look at this project in terms of what the town is being reimbursed or scheduled to be reimbursed if in fact the funding is not approved and these items are considered to be eliminated. Going forward, next Monday evening at 6 o'clock in this room, Gilbane, who's the CM at risk, is coming before a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the school committee, and they're going to present the guaranteed maximum price. It's on that evening that this board and the school committee and the public will know exactly how much the additional funds will be necessary to complete this project as originally planned. From there, we will have a third and final informational session on Thursday evening, March 14th, at the high school auditorium at 7 p.m., and that will be telecast also on NORCAM Live. From there, we move to the special town meeting on March 18th, where I hope the community will come out and support it, and it'll be past town meeting, and we will follow that with a special election on March 22nd. Although I am very disappointed that we had to come back before the community to ask for additional funds as a result of a bad and faulty estimate provided by both our project manager and architect. I think it's vitally important that this community supports this. This is the most, although it's tough to say this when it's a number is between 13 and 16 million, but in my opinion, it's the most economical way to complete this project. It's the responsible thing to do for the entire community, for the students in our school system currently and the students to come through our school system in generations to come. So I encourage you to attend next Monday evening, this meeting, 6 o'clock, followed by the informational session, and please attend. And I ask you all to support this additional request for money. I understand those may have a financial hardship in doing so, and I can respect those that, if they're in that position and you vote no, I respect that. But I ask you all to try to take the emotion and the anger out. I can tell you each member of the secondary school building committee felt the same way. We are part of this community. Most are volunteers, residents, taxpayers in this community. We've gone through that process. But at the end of the day, I hope you get to the point where we have come. But as I said earlier, the most responsible thing we can do as a community is to support this additional request. In addition there too, I want to reiterate what was said last Thursday evening. This board has taken on the responsibility in doing the due diligence and protecting the town's interest in terms of seeking contribution from both the architect and the project manager. In addition to there too, seeking legal opinion as to whether or not there's any legal viable claim against either the project manager or the architect. This board has taken on that responsibility, as it should, in order for the secondary school building committee to continue to have a working relationship with the architect and the project manager. You should also know, what I've left out so far is that if the request for additional funds is rejected, that will, at a minimum, put a 7-month delay on this project as a result of the phasing that you're all very familiar with in terms of the high school students to new high school, middle school students to the old high school while the middle school is renovated. The approximate cost per month just in delay cost is $400,000. That's approximately $3 million just in cost of delay, additional $3 million that we'd have to pull out of the project. you can see the magnitude of the issue, but hopefully you'll all come to the conclusion that I've come to, that the responsible thing to do is to support the additional request for funds. Thank you. That's all I have. Mr. Fode, I do have, the chair has a request to go back into mitigation strategy.
I just, before we go into that, before we do that, can we just quickly review the next meeting dates to make sure I have them all, because I
Meeting every week between
I know,
now and
that's why I
June.
I thought we could just quickly do that. And I
Meeting
think-
next week?
I think we're gonna, the wastewater committee's gonna ask to have another meeting on the 25th, right, Bob? Was that something we were gonna consider to ask? If we could pull it off?
Yes.
I think we're actually meeting on the 20th.
We're not right now meeting,
with
but
the
I
Board
think
of
we have to.
Selectmen, yeah.
Right. So, we're meeting this Saturday on the 9th, 8 AM, this room, right?
Correct.
We meet again on the 11th, 6 AM in this room, 6 PM in this room. We meet on the 18th, but that's town meeting, so we're not really meeting. And then we don't have another meeting scheduled, I believe, until April, so I'd like to make a recommendation that we, if we can afford to do it, to meet on the 25th.
And this is the purpose of the wastewater coming before us?
Yeah, because I think we're gonna have to give a presentation in regards to the funding that's gonna be needed to fund some of the projects, and
Can't wait till the 1st?
I don't think so, right, Bob?
Why can't it?
We're not submitting the
It was-
CIP until until April 15th, even though it was supposed to be the 1st. We're now waiting until the 15th.
Okay, so it's not the 15th? Well, then, if that's the case, I think.
No, there
we're-
was another reason, though. What was it?
I'll go, I have it in my minutes, so.
I was thinking back to when I was-
15th.
Oh, wasn't it that one of the guys was away?
That's right. That's right. The folks that we need to present to you won't be available on the, our first meeting in April.
What's driving the timeline here? I guess I'm...
Availability of the
Consultant we
consultant.
pay can't make it that day.
Okay, but as far as the sense of urgency and the timing of the
Well,
presentation?
it's because of,
CIP.
it's part of maybe part of a capital request.
Right.
Will be part of a capital request, whether or not it
But-
rises to the level.
So what
But-
about the 15th?
But we're just submitting the stuff to the, the CIPC is just submitting the stuff to the selectmen. That doesn't have to be done before we submit it. As long as it's done before the selectmen vote on
No, the
on
point was to
CIP.
bring the board up to speed on what we're doing associated with the costs, so that the additional money required to move the thing along the schedule that was put out. I mean, you and I and Mike know it, we have the schedule, was to bring the board up to speed.
Me and Steve and me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of us?
And he couldn't make the first.
Right. And the main thing is really to seek out the funding so they can complete the DEIR. I mean, that's the most important thing. That's what we gotta come in and get the board support on it. Well, we don't have to decide tonight, I guess. You guys-
Again, the 25th isn't the best. For me, I don't know. You either, right?
I can change
Preferences.
I can change my meeting at work.
Yeah.
What about a different day that week? Like Thursday or something.
It's, the rest of that week is ugly for me,
Okay.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
but Bob, if what Joe's saying is all we have to do is really, we just submit the information, and then we can just address it on the 15th. But we probably won't have the technical expertise, but we'll have to support it, the three of us.
How long is it?
It's only being submitted. Are we voting on the CIP on the 15th?
I don't know. I don't have seen your schedule, so I don't know what you got planned.
Well, I think, I mean, part of the issue is basically, can we fit it into a capital plan?
Greg, what's the calendar for the capital plan?
The schedule slips.
Right.
Calendar for the capital plan presentation is the 16th of April to the board.
That's 15th.
15th. And the
Why can't you do that?
board needs to make its final budget recommendations no later than
I
May
didn't know what the
6th.
schedule was.
Hmm?
We didn't know what the schedule was.
Shouldn't we include in that presentation?
May 6th is the date that the board needs to have everything voted to get it into the warrant.
Well,
Let's
what's the
leave it.
why don't you just,
Just leave it alone.
what's the magnitude of what's gonna be presented here? The feeling right now?
Let me get my
I
notes.
mean, Bob, what's the,
Hang on a minute.
Trying to get my calendars coordinated.
Should it just be with
Everyone's doing the same thing.
I'm just trying to get a feel for where we're heading, rather than a full scale.
Actually, the 15th is Patriots Day.
Oh, then I was right to say.
Well, it's
You're
just the
right.
DEIR.
16.
I mean, that's what we, the DEIR
Yeah, right.
is what we gotta fund.
16th works then.
And
Right.
that's, we
Put
need to
that one down
support
in
the
the
board to
calendar,
fund
too.
it.
You were right?
But we don't, Steve, part of the report that
Let's
they're
meet on
doing.
the 16th.
Sorry, Kate.
One of the reports they're doing is today, the DEIR. They gotta come in,
Freudian slip.
we have to fund that part of the project. And I think they're not 100% sure on the estimates yet. That's what they're working on now. That's what they're gonna come in and present to us. And I think just in round numbers, I think we were looking, could potentially be around $200,000.
Right.
And that's what they gotta come in and present to us and why we need to do it. But again, don't hold me to the number. That's what they're working on now. That's it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, the main reason why we gotta meet.
That's just as part of the capital approval plan to be put on the warrant to be voted on.
Correct. The rest of
I got
the
my-
studies.
I got my notes on the,
That's
on the
okay.
paper.
But the rest of the study, we've already funded through available funds.
Right.
Now, there also is going to be some discussion that we were going to try to, I believe, address on the 25th if we met. I think Dick was going to bring up the fact that the money that was associated with that bridge,
Right.
that now the funding, that Wilmington is no longer going to support, we have to give back that grant. We did a match from the town side. What do we do with that money? Do we, and I assume we have to have
If
some
that has to
discussion
be
with him.
done, still has to be dedicated to the Martins Pond issue. is there
Right,
nothing?
but we have to address it to get ready for the town warrant, to have a warrant article in there. As well, do we want to go back to the town meeting and ask to have it reappropriated for something else associated with Martins Pond? So all those things needed to get done on that, on the 25th as well.
I still don't, other than the gentleman being away on April 1st, I don't see
Who's
why
supposed to
everything
keep it
has
on
to
the
be.
first?
Fine. Then that's
Oh,
fine.
maybe. but
No,
I'm-
we'll do it on April 1st.
We'll do it on the
without him,
first, we'll
that's
do it
okay.
without him. Dick will just have to do it.
Dick will have to support us.
We were just here, we were just gonna ask if you were available, because that's when the gentleman was available.
Aye.
If you're not, then we'll just do it on the first
I can
without
do
him.
either, I don't care.
Yeah, we originally asked for the first, and
We did.
he's on vacation.
Don't matter to me.
I think these two gentlemen have things that they really can't.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do it, but
I could
don't
change
know.
Well, yeah, I think,
No, that's fair.
again, I don't mind hearing, I'm interested in being brought up to speed on it, but I don't think that there's any way that I would not support what's being proposed either. You know,
It's
so
gonna be
we don't
a
have to beat
brush
it.
up
That's
on
right,
the
that's right. We don't have to
presentation
beat a
was
dead
already
horse
made.
here, we need to just, bring us up to speed, up to date, and move forward with the plan, so.
That's it.
Okay.
So no.
I think
I don't know if we need a special meeting
what's
for
come
it.
out of after the presentation that was made to the board a while ago is there is a timeline.
Right, and that's what we thought. We weren't 100% sure on the
And
capital plan
funding
timeline, so.
pieces of it to keep it on the timeline.
Right.
I was more interested in the source of funds, rather than
Yeah.
the goal.
And that's gonna be part of the presentation.
Yeah, and again, based upon the meeting we were at the other night for the Martins Pond area, obviously, we're gonna need some resources reallocated to address the needs of that
Yeah.
part of our community as best we can, with the information we provided, so. Dick's got a pretty good handle on that too, and maybe he can make some proposals at some point on that.
We're just gonna try to do it the next time we meet. Maybe we'll just have them do it on the 1st.
Okay?
So it's the first.
The first.
The first and the 16th.
16th is the 15th is a holiday, Patriots Day. Holiday.
Oh, that's right, the 15th is a holiday. I better change that in my schedule. Damn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation strategy, with the intent of coming out only for two.
All right. What's the other thing we say here?
What was something else?
No, in such discussions, an open session will have a detrimental impact on the town? Is that what you're going to say?
That's what I was going to say. And further, the Board of Selectmen will return to open session only for the purposes of adjourning.
Second that.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Prisco.
Aye.
Mr. Messere. Mr. Fode.
Aye.
Mr. O'Leary.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.